Chapter 1469. 1469. The Destruction of 1469. Second rate. Force 3. Kid, our towering sky sword sect doesn't like threats from others. A voice came from Elder Chi's mouth. When the voice sounded, Ren Xingqian's body stiffened, and his lowered head had a ferocious expression on his face. The surrounding people were also slightly shocked, and their eyes flickered as they looked at the three elders of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. A trace of excitement flashed across Songwan's and the Song clan's eyes. Elder Chi and the other two glanced at each other. It was obvious that they had already made a decision. They saw Ren Xingqian's attitude. This made them very unhappy, and killing intent grew in their hearts. They saw Ren Xingqian's strength and monstrous talent. Originally, they wanted to invite him to join the Towering Sky Sword Sect. If he agreed to join, they wouldn't say anything even if he destroyed the Song clan. But since he was unwilling to join the Atlas Sword Sect and left with such an attitude, they definitely wouldn't let him go. This monstrous genius was able to endure for 2 years, and after his strength greatly increased, he came to destroy the Wu clan and Song clan that had killed their clan. Then, if one day his strength increased, would he take revenge on the Atlas Sword Sect? This was not impossible. In order to prevent such a thing from happening, they were prepared to destroy him. Whether he was a monster or a heaven's favorite, so what? Before he grew up, he was just an ant in their eyes. Moreover, this heaven's favorite did not have a powerful backer. If he had a powerful sect, they might be a little afraid. But now, a heaven's favorite from the Flowing Sea region had joined the Flowing Sea region. To be arrogant, they could not only destroy Ren Xingqian. Even destroying the sect behind him would be a piece of cake. This was the confidence of their Towering Sky Sword Sect. Ren Xingqian turned around stiffly and looked at the three elders of the Towering Sky Sword Sect with an embarrassed expression. He took a deep breath. "Elders, are you trying to get rid of me?" he asked with an embarrassed expression. His eyes flickered as he scanned his surroundings. "Our Towering Sky Sword Sect doesn't like trouble, and we don't want to cause trouble in the future." Elder Chi stared at Ren Xingqian indifferently and said, "You guys are really overbearing. I want revenge, and it involves your sect's disciples. You guys don't agree. Now, I want to leave, but in the end, you still want to keep me here. How overbearing." Ren Xingqian gritted his teeth and said with an embarrassed expression, "You're the one who's arrogant. You're the one who's courting death. You actually dared to stir up trouble when the Towering Sky Sword Sect opened its sect to recruit disciples." Song Wan looked at Ren Xingqian and said with a gloating expression, her eyes filled with pride, "Elders, you don't have to do anything about this. Leave it to the Li family." A third-level, profound, void, martial stage kid. Although his talent isn't bad, the Atlas Sword Sect doesn't need to mobilize so many people. He doesn't have the qualifications. At this moment, a Li family patriarch walked out with a smile on his face. He looked at Ren Xingqian, his eyes filled with shock, sympathy, and coldness. If he could kill a kid and make the Towering Sky Sword Sect owe them a favor, it would be totally worth it. Moreover, from their conversation just now, they had completely understood that although Ren Xingqian's strength was monstrous, he had no backer behind him. If he killed him, so be it. "Elder Chi, our Ming family is also willing to do it for you. 3 elders call our Zhao family for this matter. Don't let others say that the Towering Sky Sword Sect is bullying a kid." Just as the Li clan's patriarch finished speaking, a few experts from the aristocratic families immediately came out. Obviously, they were all trying to curry favor with the Towering Sky Sword Sect. You can do whatever you want. Our Towering Sky Sword Sect doesn't care about this matter." The 3 elders saw the experts from the surrounding families coming out one after another and smiled as they nodded. Since there was someone helping them, they didn't make a move to prevent others from gossiping. These guys, When the Li family's patriarch saw another 3 forces walking out, he was slightly displeased. They were a bunch of dogs. It would be great if the Li family could lick them alone. Brat, you dare to kill people in front of the towering sky, sword sect, and sully the Holy Land. My Li family will kill you here today. The Li family's patriarch moved his palm, and a huge axe immediately appeared in his hand. He looked down at Wang Xian and judged him. He was a powerhouse at level 4 of the see-through realm. It was easy for him to kill a heaven's favorite who had the combat strength of level 3 of the see-through realm. Let our Ming family take his dog head. At this moment, the powerhouse of the Ming family moved. A sharp sword was aimed at Ren Xingqian. At this moment, he was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Everyone wanted to kill him first. Damn it! His head is mine. The Li family patriarch cursed in his heart. Then he raised the huge axe in his hand and slashed at Ren Xingqian. Haha, I hope you can withstand one of their attacks. We're here too. The other force wasn't willing to be left behind. A rank 4 void interpretation expert attacked. This kid is finished. What a pity. A rank 2 profound void martial genius in his 30s died, just like that. It's also because this guy is a bit arrogant. He doesn't have any background. When he meets the elders of the Towering Sky Sword sect, he doesn't know how to be more respectful. A nearby aristocratic family that had brought their disciples here sighed and discussed softly when they saw the scene. So what if you have the strength of the 3rd level of the see-through realm? Aren't you still being killed? The heavens are going to kill you. Song Wan and the eldest senior brother of the Towering Sky Sword sect watched this scene with excitement. No matter how magnificent you are, how talented you are, or how you offended a powerful force, you will still die. This is the first time I've seen such a tyrannical force. Wang Xian stood about 1,000 meters away. When he saw this scene, his eyes turned cold. Ren Xingqian was merely here for revenge. He didn't offend the Atlas Sword sect in the slightest, but he was about to be killed by the Atlas Sword sect. He's strong. He can really do whatever he wants. Perfect. I originally needed to find a place to settle down. This is it. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Ao Jian, who was at the side. Ao Jian nodded his head slowly and gave an order to his subordinates. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of a sharp sword being unsheathed could be heard. Die, your head is mine. In the middle, the leader of the Li family shouted at Ren Xingqian with a ferocious look on his face. He swung his huge axe at Ren Xingqian. You guys are pretty fast. The other 3 experts at the 4th level of the see-through realm frowned slightly. The speed in their hands also increased. You! Ren Xingqian gritted his teeth, and a trace of blood spilled out. His eyes were slightly bloodshot. However, when he heard the sound of sharp swords coming from behind, his tensed nerves relaxed a little. You are the ones who died. Chapter 1470. 1470, the destruction of 1470 second-rate forces 4. You're the ones who will die. In front of Ren Xingqian, the Li clan leader and the other 4 experts at the profound void tier-attacked at an extreme speed. The 4 of them were like a cat catching a mouse, wanting to be the first to behead Ren Xingqian. However, just as they rushed into the air, a cold voice sounded. The voice was emotionless, like the sound of a sharp sword colliding. Who is it? The Li clan leader, who was rushing forward, instantly felt a terrifying sharp light rushing towards his heart, causing the expression of the body that was rushing forward to change slightly, and he hurriedly swept his surroundings. The expressions of the other 3/4 level profound void martial experts also changed slightly, revealing a vigilant expression. Be careful! At this moment, the 3 elders of the Towering Sky Sword sect, who were standing at the back and watching everything proudly, saw the 4 golden figures, and their expressions changed slightly. Are Around them, the 5,000 to 6,000 people gathered nearby, as well as the people from the 20 to 30 aristocratic families, were slightly shocked, their gazes fixed on them. There are 4 figures rushing over. An expert at the 5th rank of the profound void martial stage had a solemn expression as he spoke in a low voice. Who? This fellow's accomplice? The Lee clan's clan leader and the other 3 clan leaders' expressions also changed slightly as they hurriedly raised their heads to look. Pooh, pooh, pooh. However, before the 4 of them could react, 4 golden long swords that were exactly the same arrived at their necks. The sound of sharp swords entering their heads could be heard, and in an instant 4 heads flew up. What? When they saw the Lee clan leader and the other 4 rank 4 profound void martial artists being killed in an instant, everyone had shocked expressions on their faces. 4 middle-aged men holding long swords appeared in front of everyone. They held golden long swords, and there wasn't a single trace of blood on their swords. 1 kill. The 4 of them stood in front of Rin Xingchen, without any expression on their faces, as if they were killing machines. The golden swordfish that had already cultivated the heartless sword principle had no feelings at this stage. Only when they had cultivated the heartless sword principle to the great success stage would they be able to restrain their feelings. Such powerful strength. They killed the Lee family's patriarch and the other 2 in 1 move. They must be 5th level void interpretation experts. Who are these 4 young men? The surrounding experts and disciples of the aristocratic families were shocked when they saw the Lee family leader and the rest being killed instantly. They stared at them in astonishment. The Lee family and the 3 people who attacked earlier had a drastic change in expression when they saw the scene. They were extremely embarrassed. Song Wan and the Song family were even more stunned. Senior Rin Xingchen saw the 4 of them standing in front of him. Naturally, he knew that it was Wang Xian who asked them to attack. He bowed respectfully to the 4 golden swordfish of the 4th level of the see-through realm and thanked them. Who are you? When the 3 elders of the towering sky sword sect saw the 4 golden swordfish that suddenly appeared, their expressions changed slightly and revealed a serious expression. The 4 of them before them had the strength of the 5th level of the see-through realm and were on the same level as them. I just arrived at the vast region and already saw such an overbearing sect. Hee. Wang Xian walked over slowly in the air with a group of golden swordfish following behind him. The 3 elders of the Atlas Sword sect immediately looked at Wang Xian and glanced at the group of golden swordfish beside him. They frowned slightly and their eyes flashed with coldness. The rest of the people around also shifted their gaze to Wang Xian. They were filled with astonishment. What faction are you guys from? Elder Qi looked at Wang Xian and all the golden swordfish behind him and asked with a solemn face. A small faction from a small place. Wang Xian raised his head and looked at Elder Qi. He said with a smile on his face, Sir, you saved my life again. Rin Xingchen looked at Wang Xian and bowed to express his gratitude. Wang Xian shook his head lightly. A faction in the Luhai region. The 3 elders of the towering sky sword sect raised their eyebrows and looked at each other before asking coldly, There's no need to wait any longer for revenge. If anyone dares to stop you, I will kill him. Wang Xian ignored the 3 elders and spoke to Rin Xingchen calmly. Thank you, sir. Rin Xingchen nodded his head gratefully. He held the long sword in his hand tightly again and stared at the Song clan. When the 3 elders of the Atlas Sword sect saw that Wang Xian was ignoring them, they looked a little embarrassed. When they heard his words, their faces turned cold as well. The faces of everyone from the Song clan changed slightly as well. What does that young man mean? Why is he going against the Atlas Sword sect? A force from the Luhai region? He dares to challenge the Atlas Sword sect? Does he not know the strength of the Atlas Sword Sect? When the surrounding aristocratic families heard Wang Xian's words, they were slightly stunned as they spoke in astonishment. However, while everyone was in a daze, Ren Xingqian, who was standing in the middle, started to move. He held the long sword in his hand tightly and attacked the people of the Song clan directly. "Elder Qi, save us." Song Wan's expression changed drastically when she saw Ren Xingqian attacking them directly. She quickly exclaimed, "Frog at the bottom of a well, are you trying to make an enemy out of our Atlas Sword Sect?" When Elder Qi saw Ren Xingqian attacking him directly, a murderous look appeared on his face. He questioned Wang Xian coldly. A terrifying murderous aura came charging at him directly. Wang Xian didn't even look at him. He just looked at Ren Xingqian quietly. "You're courting death." An angry look appeared on the elder's face. With a wave of his hand, he slashed his hand sword at Ren Xingqian. Bang! Kill! However, the moment the Sky-High Sword Sect elder made his move, a golden swordfish also made its move. With a wave of the long sword in his hand, the golden swordfish shattered his attack and charged towards him without any hesitation. "You're courting death. A small force dares to provoke us." When the elder saw the golden swordfish charging towards him, he roared furiously. A golden long sword appeared in his hand and slashed towards the golden swordfish. "Attack!" Elder Qi's expression changed slightly. His face was cold and his killing intent seemed to be corporeal. A long sword appeared in his hand. Together with the elder, they attacked the golden swordfish. "Whoever tries to stop us will be killed." At the back, a golden swordfish's cold voice rang out as it faced Elder Qi. "Haha, you actually dare to look down on our towering sky sword sect. Good, good." The last elder at the 5th level of the see-through realm sneered with a gloomy face. He unsheathed his sword and rushed out as well. "Die!" The 3 elders of the towering sky sword sect took action. The 3rd golden swordfish also took action. Whoever took action would be killed. Wang Xian stood there and watched quietly. They are really daring. This is the territory of the Atlas Sword Sect. Behind them is the land of the Atlas Sword Sect. There are more than 10,000 disciples, and all the strong ones are within the sect. When everyone around saw that the 3 golden swordfish really dared to face the 3 elders of the Atlas Sword Sect, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1471. 1471 was not a dragon that could cross the river. In front of the Towering Sky Sword Sect, the 3 elders of the Towering Sky Sword Sect attacked, and the 3 golden swordfish went up to meet them, stunning everyone. This was the territory of the Towering Sky Sword Sect, and behind it was the territory of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. To attack the elders of the Towering Sky Sword Sect in this place, wasn't that courting death? Courting death, let me show you what real sword arts are. Elder Qi and the other 2 saw the 3 golden swordfish coming toward them, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. They didn't ask the sect for help, because the other party had only sent 3 people. As sword arts practitioners, the Towering Sky Sword Sect, which had inherited sword arts, was famous in the entire vast region. They weren't afraid of anyone when facing enemies with swords. In fact, they were confident that they could defeat swordsmen of the same level. This was the confidence that came from their foundation. Clang, clang, clang. In the instant that they collided, the 3 elders held their long swords and collided with the 3 golden swordfish hundreds of times in an instant. The sound of sharp swords colliding continuously rang out. They were both metal elemental, 5th level, void interpretation experts. And the center of the battle was like a dazzling sun. 10,000 golden sword rays scattered in all directions. The terrifying sword Qi made everyone around panic and scatter in all directions. What exquisite sword techniques! In the instant of the collision, the three elders of the towering sky sword sect were instantly at a disadvantage, causing their expressions to change slightly. Aspect: three talents, sword formation. Aspect: three talents, sword formation. Aspect: three talents, sword formation. At this moment, the three elders shouted in unison, and three dazzling metal great swords instantly appeared in front of them. Dharma idol, three talents, sword formation, was a Dharma idol evolved from the inherited divine ability of the towering sky sword sect. Each of the three great swords was only 100 meters in size, but these three swords could attack together. Among the Dharma idols, one of the more exquisite Dharma idols was extremely powerful. Attack! The three of them shouted in unison again, and the three long swords attacked the three golden swordfish. Dharma idols, Wu's sword. The three golden swordfish didn't hesitate at all. They shook the long swords in their hands and also used their Dharma idols. A long sword that was only 10 meters long appeared in front of them. Each sword was emitting a dazzling golden light. The golden light covered an area of 1,000 meters. In the area covered by the golden light, outsiders could not even see the long sword inside. Kill! The three golden swordfish did not show any expression on their faces. Their figures moved and directly disappeared into the golden light. Be careful! Elder Chi and the other two were slightly shocked when they saw the strange Dharma idol attack, and they reminded in a low voice, "The strength of those three swordsmen is so terrifying. What sharp sword techniques! It seems that they are also from the same sword sect." When the surrounding families saw the 6 people fighting together, they were shocked. Which force is this? They are actually evenly matched with our elders. A disciple of the towering sky sword sect looked at them in shock. The battle has just begun. No one is a match for our towering sky sword sect in terms of swordsmanship, let alone a faction from a small place. The eldest senior brother of the towering sky sword sect stared at them with a twinkle in his eyes. When his gaze swept past Wang Xian and the rest, he looked at the deacons at the side and said, "Deacons, should we seek help from the experts of the sect?" "No need. Let's wait and see. They won't dare to do anything." The few middle-aged men waved their hands and didn't put Wang Xian and the rest in their eyes at all. Even if they had 3 strong practitioners at the 5th level of the see-through void stage who were fighting against their elders. If they were to seek help now, and the strong practitioners of the sect were to be mobilized, it wouldn't be embarrassing enough if the opponents were just these dead fishes and shrimps. "Ah! Elder, save us! Save us!" At this moment, a scream for help suddenly came from below. Everyone's expression changed slightly as they hurriedly looked in the direction of the Song clan below. They saw Rin Xingqian standing on the ship with a long sword in his hand. In front of him, more than 10 corpses lay on the side. Song Wan stared at Rin Xingqian with a terrified expression as she screamed loudly, "Rin Xingqian, if you dare to kill us, the towering sky sword sect will not let you off. Stop, stop!" As she spoke, she pointed at Rin Xingqian and shouted with a stern expression. Rin Xingqian stared at Song Wan without any expression on his face. "Stop! Our towering sky sword sect is warning you. If you dare to kill our people and go against our will, none of you will be able to leave this place today." A deacon saw Rin Xingqian slaughtering people from the Song clan. His expression changed slightly as he shouted coldly, "Stupid!" When Wang Xian saw the deacon's words, a faint sneer appeared on his face. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The area covered by the golden radiance covered all 3 elders of the Atlas sword sect. At this moment, he smiled and looked at the 3 figures that were gradually becoming clearer. "Look, that is." In the surrounding area, a profound void martial artist on a ship suddenly stared at the sky in shock. He pointed at the 3 figures that had faintly appeared and shouted loudly, The three figures quickly descended towards the area below. Everyone raised their heads and looked towards the sky. They looked at the three figures who were wearing golden clothing and had a mountain peak pattern on their backs. "It's Elder Chi and the others, they." All the disciples and deacons of the towering sky sword sect looked over as well. Their pupils dilated and their mouths opened slightly. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of collision could be heard. The three corpses fell directly onto the ship of the Song clan. Songwon, who was pointing at Rin Xingqian, froze. The surroundings instantly fell silent. Only the sound of waves could be heard. Cold sweat appeared on the faces of everyone from the Song clan. Elder Chi and the rest have been killed. They actually really dared to kill Elder Chi and the rest. Everyone was stunned. Looking at the bodies of Elder Chi and the rest, they muttered to themselves. They actually dared to kill the elders of the Atlas Sword Sect at the entrance of the Atlas Sword Sect. Were they going to attack the Towering Sky Sword Sect? Everyone looked at Wang Xian and the 200 or so people behind him. Were these people courting death? Or, an enemy has invaded. 3 elders have been killed. An enemy has invaded. Request for reinforcements from the sect. At this moment, the disciples and deacons who were floating in the sky revealed a look of fear. The deacons who had said that everything was fine roared in fear. The roar resounded throughout the entire sea area. The terrified voice resounded throughout the entire Towering Sky Sword Sect, causing all the disciples and experts to be slightly stunned. Someone has invaded. Which death-seeking bastard dares to attack our Towering Sky Sword Sect? 3 elders have been killed? Death-seeking? Cut them into 1,000 pieces. Inside the Towering Sky Sword Peak, a group of experts and disciples looked out with cold, killing intent in their eyes. An ant killed a disciple of our sword sect at the gate of our sword sect. Pa! At the peak of the Towering Sky Sword Peak, 2 people wearing golden clothes and golden crowns were sitting in front of the chessboard. He glanced down through the layers of clouds and said calmly, I'm here. The old man on the other side said calmly as he stared at the chessboard and gently placed the chess pieces down. Chapter 1472. 1472 was not a dragon, but a river. Boom, boom, boom. When the deacon's terrified voice resounded through the sky-high sword sect, the entire sword sect was filled with experts flying over. All of them were dressed in golden clothes. Some were flying on swords, while others were flying in the air. They held long swords in their hands, and their bodies were filled with sword chi. At this moment, it was as if tens of thousands of long swords were shooting towards them. Hiss! There might be a battle coming up. Let's retreat quickly. It should be a massacre. The sect master of the Towering Sky Sword Sect is here, and there are also a group of experts. More than 10,000 elite disciples and more than 1,000 insightful Void Realm experts are all here. Other than the 2 sword masters, the entire Towering Sky Sword Sect should be mobilized. After all, this is the entrance of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. If someone dares to cause trouble at their entrance, they will naturally all be mobilized. I'm afraid that it will be a massacre. When the surrounding aristocratic families saw the dense crowd of experts and disciples flying out of the Towering Sky Sword Peak, their faces were filled with shock. As the only second-rate force within a radius of 1,000 miles, the strength of the Towering Sky Sword Sect was unquestionable. In the entire vast region, there weren't many forces that could challenge the Towering Sky Sword Sect, let alone a force that came from the Flowing Sea region. Who are you? How dare you kill an elder of our sect in front of the Towering Sky Sword Sect? State your name, and we will erect a tombstone for you. A sonorous and cold voice came from the mouth of an elder in the middle. 2 3-meter-long giant swords were suspended above the head of the elder. He looked at Wang Xian and the rest with murderous intent. Reporting to sect master, it's them. They're the ones who killed Elder Qi and the other two. They are in cahoots. A middle-aged deacon heaved a sigh of relief when he saw everyone from the sect. He quickly pointed at the 3 golden swordfish, Wang Xian and the rest. The 3 elders were killed, catching everyone off guard. Their elders were actually killed by a swordsman of the same level in less than 2 minutes. One had to know that their sky-high sword sect was a great sword sect with a complete heritage. There were few who could match up to a swordsman of the same level. Furthermore, they were fighting against swordsmen of the same level. However, the strength displayed by the other party shocked them. It's all of you. Shut up. Kill 3 elders of our sky-high sword sect. Kill them all. Just as Wang Xian was about to speak, the sect master of sky-high sword sect, who was standing in the middle, shouted coldly, "Kill! Those who offend our towering sky sword sect will die. Kill!" Behind the sect master of the towering sky sword sect, more than 1,000 insightful emptiness realm experts roared in a low voice. Behind them, more than 10,000 disciples roared with murderous intent. Those who dared to kill the elders of the towering sky sword sect would only end up dead. They didn't need to understand anything else and didn't listen to any explanations. Report your forces. Not only do we have to kill you, but your sects and dynasties will also have to pay the price. An elder at level 6 of the see-through void took a step forward and roared at Wang Xian and the rest with a grim expression. Dead people, there's no need to know too much. Wang Xian looked at the extremely powerful towering sky sword sect and his expression turned cold. He raised his head slightly and swept his gaze across the tens of thousands of them. Kill. An order was given. Kill. Since all of you are so overbearing, let's see the truth in the slaughter. Kill. Ao Jian and the golden swordfish behind him shouted with an expressionless face. Their voice was like a sharp sword that was unsheathed. The aura on their bodies was greatly boosted as they attacked the tens of thousands of people from Towering Sky Sword Sect. There was no fear in their eyes. Their eyes were extremely cold. Kill. What? All the people of the Towering Sky Sword Sect were also stunned when they saw Ao Jian and his group of 200 charging over. They felt the icy cold aura and the cold sword ray, and their expressions changed slightly. 200 insightful Void Realm experts. An elder of the Towering Sky Sword Sect felt the aura charging over from the front, and a trace of solemnity appeared on his face. Sect Master, they are the forces of the Luhai region. The deacon beside him roared loudly. The forces of the Flowing Sea region dare to be so arrogant? Kill them all. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. The sect master of the Towering Sky Sword Sect had an ugly expression on his face when he saw Ao Jian and the others charging straight at them. They dared to attack them arrogantly with only 200 people. They simply did not put the Towering Sky Sword Sect in their eyes. Kill! Kill this group of frogs at the bottom of the well. Trash from the Flowing Sea region. How dare they challenge our sky-high sword sect? Kill them all. The sky-high sword sect elders shouted with cold faces. Kill! A great battle was about to break out. My God, those 200 expressionless swordsmen are all insightful emptiness realm experts. 200, it's actually 200 insightful emptiness realm experts, but Atlas Sect has 1,000. When all the surrounding aristocratic families saw the sudden outbreak of war, their expressions changed drastically, and they quickly led their clansmen to retreat. This motherfucker, Atlas Sword Sect Master, was incomparably domineering. He did not even ask for a reason and directly ordered the execution. However, the other party was not to be trifled with. He directly ordered the execution. From the moment everyone from the Towering Sky Sword Sect came out to attack, Less than 30 seconds had passed. Dharma idol, bloodless sword. Ao Jian and 200 others rushed toward the towering sky sword sect. They did not hesitate at all and used their Dharma idol instantly. Out of the 200 golden swordfish, the weakest one could kill a level 3 profound void martial artist, while the strongest Ao Jian could kill a level 6 profound void martial artist. This power was definitely not weak. Not counting the rank 5 and rank 6 insightful void martial artists, the Towering Sky sword sect was no match at all. Although they had 1,000 insightful void martial artists, more than 900 of them were rank 1 and rank 2 insightful void martial artists, while the rest were only rank 3 and above. When the dazzling golden hiltless sword instantly appeared in front of the group of golden swordfish. Each sword was 1,000 meters long, but only as wide as an arm. The terrifying sharpness directly charged toward the Towering Sky sword sect. What? The sect master of the Towering Sky sword sect looked at the 200 identical Dharma images and felt the bone-piercing sword light on them. His expression finally changed drastically. Disciples of the Towering Sky sword sect, be careful. The opponent's strength is at least at the 3rd level of the profound void stage. His strength has not reached the profound void stage yet. Retreat. He hurriedly shouted loudly. 200 experts, at least at the 3rd level of the profound void stage. In a battle of this level, those below the profound void stage could not interfere at all. The lowest level is the 3rd level of the profound void martial stage. Hearing the sect master's words, the expressions of all the disciples changed greatly, and even the pupils of some profound void martial stage experts shrunk slightly. Defend. However, at this time, there was no time for them to think. Facing those peculiar bloodless swords, the group of experts from the Towering Sky sword sect hurriedly roared, brandished their resplendent attacks, and directly welcomed them. However, it was too late for them to escape. The bloodless swords covered everyone in the Towering Sky sword sect. Aspect, sword edge protection. Aspect, sword edge protection. The expressions of the 10 rank 6 profound void martial artists in the Towering Sky sword sect turned cold as they shouted in unison. Aspect, sword edge protection. A protective aspect comprehended at rank 6 profound void martial artist. 10 Dharma idols enveloped everyone in the sword sect. With 10 guardian Dharma idols, the sect master of the Towering Sky sword sect was confident that he could block the attacks of 200 Dharma idols at rank 3 profound void martial stage. Pa, pa, pa. However, the moment the sword edge protection was formed, the sound of shattering was immediately heard. A black and white cross easily pierced through the moment the Dharma idol was formed. Many people didn't even see the black and white cross. Oh no, there's an expert. Lord Sword Master, save me. The sky-high sword sect master's expression changed drastically as he shouted loudly. Chapter 1473. 1470, 1473, above the heartless sword sect. Lord Sword Master, save me. When the sect master's terrified voice rang out in front of the sky-high sword sect, everyone had shocked expressions on their faces. The sect master of the sky-high sword sect actually called for help. Where are the experts? The experts and disciples of the aristocratic families who had fled 2 to 3 kilometers away saw the scene and were dumbfounded. They only looked at the sect master of the Towering Sky sword sect in the middle of the battlefield, their eyes flashing. There were experts. With their strength, they did not see the moment Ao Yao made his move. At the top of the Towering Sky sword, the movements of the 2 old men who were playing chess froze slightly. The 2 men hurriedly stood up. A dazzling golden light shot out from their eyes and looked down. Shit, the other party's power is not weak. The two of them looked over and did not notice Ao Yao's figure. However, they saw that the Dharma idol released by the 200 weakest third-level profound void martial experts covered the disciples of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. Walala! An old man waved his arm. The chess pieces on the table were like a sharp sword. They suddenly turned into a giant sword that was 10 meters in size. The giant sword attacked downwards at a terrifying speed. It's too late. The other old man's expression was a little awkward. His figure moved, and with a flash his figure disappeared instantly. Ah! Run, quickly run. At this moment, over 10,000 disciples of the Towering Sky Sword Sect were directly covered by the bloodless sword. That strange and sharp long sword instantly pierced through everyone. The sharp sword was like a poisonous snake, cold and full of killing intent. More than 10,000 Towering Sky Sword Sect disciples were killed or injured by this move. Damn you guys, all of you will die today. A cold voice, filled with coldness, came from the sky. A dazzling golden figure descended from the sky like a sharp sword. The golden figure looked at the disciples who were more than half dead and injured, and his eyes were slightly red. Whoosh! 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 At this time, the chess piece turned into a huge sword and fell toward the ground. The 200 golden swordfish were affected by their souls, and they quickly dodged to the surroundings. Boom! 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 The sharp sword fell into the water and directly penetrated into the ocean, causing a wave of water spray. Hiss! At least 4,000 to 5,000 disciples of the Towering Sky Sword Sect died under the attack of 200 experts. The Sword Master of the Towering Sky Sword Sect has made his move. Among this group of people, I think there are also experts at the 7th level of the Profound Void tier. Oh my God, today is going to be a great battle. Shocked voices came from the surroundings. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the Sword Master, who was emitting golden light. Hee, you two arrogant fellows are here. Unfortunately, both of you are going to die. Let me test your strength, haha. When Wang Xian saw the two sword masters who were at level 7 of the see-through realm flying down from the front and back, a mocking look appeared on his face. Just now, he saw the two strong swordsmen on the sword tip. However, to his surprise, they did not come down at all. They merely took a glance and continued playing chess. Their arrogance made Wang Xian feel a little amused. He laughed out loud, and the 5 elements millstone appeared above his head. It expanded rapidly and went straight for the two sword masters in the sky. Who are you people? The two sword masters who had descended from the Towering Sky Sword Peak did not have the time to show off. When they saw Wang Xian coming straight for them and felt the palpitating energy from the 5 elements millstone, their expressions changed slightly. Those who want to kill you. Wang Xian moved his body and stood above the 5 elements millstone. A strong fighting spirit appeared on his face. Ever since his breakthrough, he had not had a good fight. Today, he would use the 2 7th-level insightful void martial artists to test his strength. Roar. When he finished his sentence, he let out a dragon's roar. Following that, his entire body turned into 80 meters in size. He crouched in the middle of the 5 elements grinding mill and stared coldly at the two sword masters. What kind of monster are you? What kind of enmity do you have with our Towering Sky Sword Sect? When the two sword masters, who were thousands of meters in the air, saw Wang Xian suddenly turn into a gigantic figure of 80 meters, their eyes revealed a solemn expression. You talk too much nonsense. A hint of mockery appeared in Wang Xian's eyes. The Towering Sky Sword Sect thought that they were invincible and completely ignored Wang Xian. They even interrupted him when he was speaking. Now, it was the complete opposite. They really wanted to know when they had provoked such a terrifying force. However, Wang Xian ignored them. Since you guys are so overbearing, let's continue. Roar. Dragon Nation in palm. Wang Xian did not hesitate at all. With a wave of his dragon claw, a dragon claw the size of 4 kilometers appeared in the sky. The entire dragon claw covered the sky and the sun. It looked extremely terrifying. 7th level of the see-through realm. You alone want to fight against the 2 of us? You are courting death. One of the sword masters had an extremely cold expression as he charged towards the sky. Huge swords that were 3,000 meters long appeared around him. We Gemini sword masters have roamed the vast region for 3,000 years. We are unafraid of any enemies. Today, we will definitely behead you. The other sword master also flew into the sky. Around him, an identical 3,000-meter-long sword appeared. There were 3 swords for each of them. There were a total of 6. Slash. The 2 of them let out a soft cry. The 6 swords attacked the dragon claw from different angles. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of collision rang out from the sky. In a short instant, the 3 of them arrived at a height of 10,000 meters. Even so, this terrifying collision caused a wave of air to rush downwards. Splash! The seawater churned like a level 10 tsunami. Oh my God, the 2 sword masters were actually blocked by that young man. Is this the terrifying power of a level 7 see-through void martial artist? The energy that blots out the sky. The Towering Sky Sword Sect has encountered a strong enemy today. Everyone below had a drastic change in expression when they saw Wang Xian charging straight up and seeing the terrifying aura coming from the sky. Due to the great grinding of the 5 elements, they did not see Wang Xian transforming into a divine dragon. What? The sect master of the Towering Sky Sword Sect had a drastic change in expression when he saw the 2 sword masters being blocked in an instant. The black and white cross earlier was not released by the young man who went up to the sword masters. Kill! At this moment, Ao Jian's order sounded. He stared at the rest of the Towering Sky Sword Sect members emotionlessly, and the sharp sword in his hand trembled. Dharma Idol Wei Sword. A dazzling golden light enveloped it, covering an area of 3 kilometers. A long sword was hidden within, like a poisonous snake. Without any hesitation, he directly attacked the 10 rank 6 profound void martial experts of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. Behind him, another group of golden swordfish also started to move, charging towards the members of the Towering Sky Sword Sect. The battle where the guest was the main force made everyone feel as if this was their home ground. Chapter 1474. 1474 in the Heartless Sword Dao Sect. Be careful of the surroundings. Kill. All disciples, all experts, listen up. Kill. The sect master of the Towering Sky Sword Sect saw Ao Jian and the others attacking, and his face revealed a terrified expression. He roared loudly and ordered all the disciples of the sect. Even if it was an ordinary disciple, they had to make a move. Life and death, life and death. He knew that there was a terrifying 7th level profound void martial artist hiding in the surroundings. What? At the periphery of the battlefield, the disciples of the Towering Sky Sword Sect who were about to escape revealed shocked expressions when they heard the order of the sect master. They want us to rush over too. We haven't reached the profound void martial stage yet. If we rush over, won't we be instantly killed? All disciples attack? The Towering Sky Sword Sect is at the point of life and death? How is this possible? This is the most powerful force within a radius of thousands of kilometers. Now, they're actually at the point of life and death. When the experts and disciples of the surrounding aristocratic families heard this order, they were also dumbstruck. This war was clearly not something that those below the profound void realm could participate in. unless the Towering Sky Sword sect was at the point of life and death. Otherwise, disciples below the profound void realm would only be sending themselves to their deaths. We, disciples below the profound void realm were also somewhat dumbstruck when they heard the sect leader's order. They all gulped and looked at the corpses on the sea, their faces filled with fear. Die. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from the center of the battlefield. No. A familiar voice suddenly came from the golden light. The voice was somewhat tragic. Hearing these voices, the disciples of the Towering Sky Sword sect trembled. First Elder, that's the First Elder's voice. The voice of the Towering Sky, law-enforcing elder, this. All the disciples of the Towering Sky Sword sect had a look of panic on their faces. This voice was the screams of the top-notch experts of the Sword sect. Ao Yao moved. The group of strange demons also moved. After the two sword masters were blocked by Wang Xian, the Towering Sky Sword sect didn't have any ability to defend themselves. At this moment, a pathetic figure flew out from the sky, covered by golden light. There was a long sword mark on his chest. Sect Master. A middle-aged man saw that their sect master was heavily injured and shouted in fear. Deacon Liang, how did we provoke this terrifying force? The sect master of the Sky High Sword sect shouted at Deacon Liang with a pale face. It was this Deacon Liang who had asked for help before the battle started. Sect Master, yes, it was Elder Qi and the others. A young man came here to take revenge on two families. The young man destroyed one family. When he destroyed another family, a woman from that family had already been accepted as a disciple by Elder Qi. Then, before Deacon Liang could speak, the sect master of the Towering Sky Sword sect couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. What the fuck? Just for the sake of a new disciple, the Towering Sky Sword sect actually suffered a catastrophe. If the two sword masters could not withstand the other party, the Towering Sky Sword sect would cease to exist from then on, just because of a single disciple. At the thought of this, he could not help but spit out another mouthful of blood. Bastard! He shouted with an extremely embarrassed expression. It was unknown whether he was scolding Wang Xian and the rest or Elder Qi and the rest. Not far away from them, Ren Xingqian was holding a blood-stained long sword in his hand. He stared coldly at the Song clan leader and Songwan. In the entire Song clan, only a dozen people were standing there with despair on their faces. When they saw the furious and terrified expression of the sect master of the Towering Sky Sword sect, their bodies trembled violently. They never expected things to turn out this way. They had thought that they could kill Ren Xingqian with the help of the Towering Sky Sword sect. However, they had never thought that a terrifying force would directly help Ren Xingqian. They were even on the verge of destroying the Towering Sky Sword sect. This was the Towering Sky Sword sect, the strongest force within 1,000 kilometers. In the vast region, it was not a weak existence. You guys helped the Wu clan to destroy our Rin clan. You would never have thought that this would happen. Ren Xingqian's gaze swept across the center of the battlefield as he spoke indifferently to Songwan and the Song clan's clan leader. Gulp. Songwan and the others swallowed a mouthful of saliva as they closed their eyes in despair. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, another terrifying sound came from the sky. The sound spread to an area of 100 kilometers. Everyone raised their heads and looked towards the sky. At a height of 10,000 meters, they could only see terrifying energy collisions, but they couldn't see anything else. It wasn't just the area below. The battle at a height of 10,000 meters in the sky shook 5 or 6 nearby cities. When the people and experts in the cities sensed the terrifying collision sounds, they all looked in the direction of the Sky High Sword sect. It's at least a powerhouse at level 7 of the see-through realm fighting. What happened to the Atlas sword sect? The powerhouses of the see-through realm looked up into the sky and thought to themselves with their hearts palpitating, "What a terrifying physical body! What a terrifying energy! What kind of energy is he releasing?" In the sky, 10,000 meters high, the two sword masters were standing in front of Wang Xian, one on the left and the other on the right. They were staring at Wang Xian with cold sweat on their foreheads. Phew, it's going to be troublesome to deal with the two 7th-level, insightful, void stage sword masters, especially since their combined attack is quite strong. Wang Xian exhaled slightly and stood in the middle of the 5 elements grinding mill. However, this is the end of it. He raised his head slightly. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the area within 500 kilometers. Under the shocked gazes of the two sword masters, Wang Xian's dragon head turned into a size of 4,000 meters. It was an incomparably huge dragon horn. The dragon whiskers on both sides were at least a few hundred meters long. They were fiery red in color and were emitting flames. The pair of dragon eyes was the size of a house and had a huge mouth. Majestic and divine. When the two sword masters saw this dragon head, they had the urge to kneel down. What kind of divine creature is this? The two of them looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Run! The two didn't hesitate at all and directly fled into the distance. They were really afraid. Just now, they had spent a lot of effort to fight against this creature. Now, in this state, it was obviously not something they could resist. Is the vast area about to undergo a huge change? Why are there so many terrifying creatures appearing? Both of their eyes were filled with fear. A few months ago, an expert known as the Desolate Goddess had appeared out of nowhere. At that time, an elite disciple of a first-rate family in the vast region, the Nanshan family, had provoked her. In the end, that elite disciple was killed on the spot. The Nanshan family was furious and sent an expert to take revenge. In the end, they did not expect that the end of the Nanshan family would come. They heard from the trembling voice of a 7th-rank, profound void martial artist that the Desolate Goddess was standing on a terrifying beast that was 10,000 meters tall, rampaging through the Nanshan Castle. The entire South Mountain Castle, as well as the South Mountain Heavenly Lake, had been razed to the ground. Chapter 1475. 1475 under the Heartless Sword Path sect. The Goddess of Desolation rode a 10,000-meter-long giant beast and destroyed a first-rate family. From then on, she entered the stage of the vast region. The Goddess of Desolation occupied the Sea of Desolation. One man and one beast became an existence that was superior to first-rate forces. Even the 3 superforces had to be respectful to the Goddess of Desolation. However, the terrifying human being in front of them might not be as huge as the giant beast of the Goddess of Desolation, but its head, which was 3 to 4 kilometers long, still looked extremely terrifying. Run. Can you still run now? Wang Xian's dragon eyes, which were the size of a house, stared at the two figures. He opened his mouth, and a destructive energy shot forward. The destructive energy of the 5 elements, which covered a radius of 4 kilometers, shot out from his mouth and engulfed the two sword masters. Oh no, it's this terrifying energy again. The expressions of the two sword masters changed drastically. The golden crown on their heads shot out a terrifying golden light that enveloped their bodies. ZZZ. The 5 elements annihilation energy covered them. The corrosive energy caused the golden light to quickly disappear. Die. At this moment, a terrifying dragon claw descended from the sky and covered their entire sky. Break him. All Heaven's sword. The two sword masters clenched their teeth and roared loudly when they saw the terrifying dragon claw descending from the sky. They raised the sharp swords in their hands and spun them rapidly like a tornado. The sharp swords pierced through Wang Xian's dragon claw. Bang, bang, bang. When the sharp swords landed on the dragon claw, the terrifying metal-killing attack immediately created a 5-meter-wide hole. Charge out! The two of them roared. The sharp sword reached a depth of 10 meters in an attempt to pierce through Wang Xian's dragon claw. Ants! Wang Xian stared at them with a cold smile on his face. He clenched his dragon claw forcefully. A human was indeed like an ant in a dragon claw that was 3 to 4 kilometers in size. Their sharp sword pierced through a wound that was 5 meters wide and 10 meters deep. Wang Xian couldn't even feel any pain. Such a wound could only be considered as a superficial wound in front of such a huge body. Boom! 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 When Wang Xian's dragon claws reached down, it was as though a planet had exploded to the two sword masters. Waves of terrifying energy were squeezing towards them. No. Despair appeared on their faces as the destructive energy landed on their bodies. The dragon claw was completely clenched. With my current strength, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for me to kill 3 opponents at the 7th level of the see-through realm. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face. His huge dragon eyes penetrated through the clouds and looked towards the sky-high sword sect. He opened his dragon claw and waved it gently towards the area below. 2 corpses fell towards the area below. Wang Xian's body moved and transformed into a human form. The 5 elements millstone shrunk rapidly and landed under his feet. Bang! Bang! At the area below, the corpses of the 2 sword masters landed heavily on a ship with a loud sound. When the 2 sword masters fell from the sky, the experts from the families around them noticed them. Looking at the familiar clothes, the 2 corpses seemed to have fallen onto their hearts. Those two corpses are the sword masters of the towering sky sword sect. Oh my God, the 2 sword masters have been killed. It's over, it's over. The towering sky sword sect is completely finished. The sword masters are dead, and there's nothing they can do about it. The experts looked at the 2 lifeless corpses with their mouths agape as they muttered. Their gazes swept across the surroundings, and their expressions were somewhat dazed. The towering sky sword sect, a huge sect that had stood tall in the vast region for 4,000 years, had been destroyed. It had been destroyed at a terrifying speed. The 2 sword masters are dead. I surrender, I surrender. It's over, it's over. Run, the sword masters are dead. Let's run. Not long after, the 2 sword masters' deaths were discovered by the disciples of the towering sky sword sect. When they saw this situation, the entire towering sky sword sect completely collapsed. Some of the experts directly shouted for surrender. There were also some who fled in fear. There were not many people, only about 1,000 people, because the rest had already been killed in the battle just now. Ha ha, ha ha, an unexpected disaster, an unexpected disaster. The heavens want to destroy our towering sky sword sect. When the sect master of the towering sky sword sect saw this scene, he roared in despair, his face filled with madness. The towering sky sword sect had been destroyed. Your last backer has been destroyed. Now it's your turn. From below, Rin Xingqian saw this scene, and a grateful expression appeared on his face. He looked at Song Wan and the remaining 10 or so members of the Song clan as he brandished the sword of slaughter in his hand. Despair had long filled their hearts. They had already lost the ability to resist. The only thing in their minds were regret and regret. Wang Xian stood about 500 meters above the sea. He scanned his surroundings and looked around indifferently. Sir, thank you. You have saved my life again. I, Rin Xingqian, have no way to repay you. I will definitely go through fire and water in the future. At this moment, Rin Xingqian flew over. He knelt in the air with a respectful expression and kowtowed to Wang Xian to express his gratitude. No need. Wang Xian shook his head faintly and looked at the battlefield that was about to end. Rin Xingqian looked over as well. A hint of bitterness appeared on his face. He knew the reason why Sir Wang didn't need him at all. It was because any one of the 200 experts that he brought along could easily kill him. He was of no use to Lord Wang at all. It was also because of this that Rin Xingqian was even more grateful. From saving him in the tomb of the demi-human, to now, he had even helped him to destroy a terrifying force. He had no way to repay him. He could only secretly swear that he would repay him with his life in the future. Reporting to Dragon King, kill all the experts and disciples of the Atlas Sword sect. When the last scream was heard, Ao Jian flew to the front of Wang Xian and reported respectfully, "Yes." Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at the towering and majestic Towering Sky Sword Peak. "Treat the Towering Sky Sword sect as our base," Wang Xian said plainly. His gaze swept across the row of golden swordfish in front of him and announced, "Change the Towering Sky Sword sect to the Heartless Sword sect. Ao Jian, you will be the sect master. Rin Xingqian, you have joined first. I will need you to handle the matter of finding Ling Jian. Ah!" As Wang Xian spoke, he looked at Rin Xingqian. "Yes, sir." Rin Xingqian did not hesitate and nodded immediately. Although he had joined the Heavenly Sword sect, the sect master of the current Heavenly Sword sect had already come to the vast region to find his daughter. Obviously, Lord Wang had brought so many people here to look for Ling Jian. It's the Dragon King. Ao Jian also nodded his head heavily and stood up. The Towering Sky Sword sect has been destroyed. Today, our Heartless Sword Path sect is established. 3 days later, we will be hosting a banquet for all the forces within 1,000 kilometers. Wang Xian floated in the sky, and his voice reverberated within a few hundred kilometers. Chapter 1476. 1470. The Feast of 1476. Hiss! The Heartless Sword Path sect. They have established the Heartless Sword Path sect. With their strength, they have become a second-rate top force. Look, during the battle just now, none of the 200 swordsmen died. They have always been expressionless, cold, and indifferent. The Heartless Sword Path sect lives up to its name. Inviting all the forces within 1,000 kilometers? What are they trying to do? Are they announcing their existence and making people submit to them? Or are they recruiting disciples? Or are they asking other forces to pay tribute to them? When Wang Xian's voice rang out, all the family forces around sucked in a breath of cold air. They were discussing in shock. However, when some of the cities within a few hundred kilometers heard Wang Xian's voice, all of them had shocked expressions on their faces. The Towering Sky Sword sect had been destroyed. The forces that had been standing here for thousands of years had been destroyed. Furthermore, this Heartless Sword Path sect had invited all the forces within 1,000 kilometers. What were they trying to do? The families and clans in the cities, as well as some sects and dynasties, had astonished expressions on their faces. However, a force that could destroy the Towering Sky Sword sect had invited all the forces within 1,000 kilometers. Who would dare not to come? All the forces, including those dynasties, had to send people over. Let's go! Wang Xian looked at the entrance of the Towering Sky Sword sect and flew in. However, when he was halfway there, he glanced at the few forces on the right. After hesitating for a moment, he continued flying in. Phew, we didn't make a move. Fortunately, this lord let us go. Fortunately, we are lucky. When that lord looked over just now, I thought we were going to die. Sob. S.O.B. I was almost scared to death. Thank goodness that Lord is magnanimous. When Wang Xian and the group of golden swordfish entered, the members of the Li family felt as though they had survived a calamity. Just now, the chiefs of the 4 forces had attacked Rin Xingqian. If that lord really wanted to argue with them, they would be dead for sure. It seems that the lord of the Heartless Sword Path sect is not that ruthless. However, he looks so young. Did he take some kind of pill? The experts of the surrounding families whispered, "Let's come here in 3 days. I think it won't be anything bad." The people from the aristocratic families took a deep look at the mountain peak. Now this mountain peak had changed its name to Heartless Sword Dao Peak. Ao Yao, lead your men to search the entire mountain peak and bring all the treasures over. Rin Xingchen, prepare for the banquet in 3 days. Wang Xian ordered them. It's the Dragon King. In the sky, Ao Yao led his men to search for treasures in the mountain peak. The entire mountain peak was huge. It was about 3,000 meters tall. The most important thing was its height. From the surface of the sea, it was only 2,000 meters tall. However, it was actually more than 20,000 meters tall. The bottom of the sea also belonged to this mountain peak. The location of the bottom of the sea was isolated by a formation. There were gemstones dotted on the bottom of the sea, making the entire seabed look dreamy and extremely beautiful. After all, it was a powerful faction that had 2 experts at the 7th level of the see-through void tier and had stood tall for more than 4,000 years. It was not something that the former Blood Flow Empire could compare to. The most spectacular part of the entire mountain peak was the location at the bottom of the sea. Dragon King, we have established the Heartless Sword Path sect. Do you want to recruit disciples? Rin Xingchen hesitated for a moment before asking Wang Xian. Yes, we will recruit disciples according to the normal development of the sect. Inform all the nearby forces at the banquet in 3 days. In addition, the main thing is to mobilize all the surrounding forces to look for Ling Jian Er. Wang Xian said with a twinkle in his eyes. When he decided to destroy the Towering Sky Sword sect, Wang Xian was prepared to use this place as a base for the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to invade the vast region in the future. In addition, he would establish a powerful force that could allow all the forces within a radius of 1,000 kilometers to help him find Ling Jian. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Yes, sir. I'll go and prepare now. Rin Xingchen nodded and left immediately. He had to prepare well for the banquet that would be held 3 days later for all the forces within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. Wang Xian swept his gaze across his surroundings, from the mountain peak to the surface of the sea. Following that, he flew towards the bottom of the sea. There was no seawater under the isolation of the formation. There was a completely different world under the sea. Furthermore, there was a spiritual spring at the bottom of the sea. This was not the small-scale spiritual spring that was discovered by the Dragon Palace. Instead, it was a large-scale spiritual spring. A large-scale spiritual spring was completely locked by the formation. At the bottom of the spiritual spring, a holy land for cultivation was created. Cultivating in a place with the densest concentration of spiritual energy would allow one to cultivate at a speed more than 20 times faster than the outside world. It was also a rare and precious place for cultivation. Wang Xian came to the library of the Atlas Sword sect and started to read through them curiously. There were all kinds of books in there. Reading these books would allow him to gain a deeper understanding of the vast region. In the next 2 days, the entire vast region was close to the North Flowing Sea. There were more than 50 cities and 5 third-rate forces. Such a dense group of powerful forces didn't exist in the Flowing Sea area. When all the forces learned that the Heartless Sword sect had destroyed the Towering Sky Sword sect and was going to hold a banquet 3 days later, the entire area became lively. The forces discussed among themselves. That day in the North Flowing Sea, they saw the Heartless Sword sect destroy the disciples of the Towering Sky Sword sect with their own eyes. Their faces were filled with excitement as they introduced them to the people around them. As for the shuffling of the strongest forces in the vicinity, the other forces could only silently watch and obey. It was their fault for being weaker. On the 3rd day, one by one, the forces rushed toward the Heartless Sword sect. There were 5 third-rate forces, There were a total of 30 families, sects, and dynasties. Unlike the flowing sea region, the vast area was more densely populated with humans. This was also to better combat the fierce beasts. The real wilderness area was also very large. It was possible that there was not a single city within a few thousand kilometers, only ferocious beasts running around wantonly. I heard that the most powerful person in the Heartless Sword Path sect is a young man. Are you sure it's a young man and not an old man who took a special pill? Who knows? I just heard that they came from the flowing sea region. I don't believe that a small place like the flowing sea region would have such a powerful force. I wonder why they invited us here. I hope it's not a bad thing. In the afternoon, more than 30 forces of all sizes gathered in front of the Heartless Sword Dao sect's mountain peak. There were 400 to 500 insightful Void Realm experts and 5 level 6 insightful Void Realm experts. On their ships and airships, they carried boxes of gifts. Although the Heartless Sword Path sect didn't say that they would bring gifts, it was impossible for them not to bring some gifts in hopes of befriending this new and powerful sect. The young men who followed them looked forward with curiosity. The cards of the Towering Sky Sword sect had been removed, and only the words Heartless Sword Path sect gave off a cold aura. Chapter 1477. 1477 headed toward the He clan. I heard that the Heartless Sword Path sect only has around 200 experts. The weakest one is a rank 3 Void interpretation expert, and their sword techniques are extremely terrifying. They can easily kill experts of the same level as the Towering Sky Sword sect. Such a mysterious force suddenly rose. I wonder if this matter is good or bad for us. In front of the Heartless Sword Path sect, experts from 5 forces stood in the center. There were 2 dynasties, 1 clan, and 2 sections. Behind them, there were more than 20 insightful Emptiness Realm experts. Around them were many small-scale clans and factions. Each clan had around 10 insightful Emptiness Realm experts. There were more than 1,000 people in total. They were discussing in low voices. Ka. At this moment, the Heartless Sword Dao sect opened. Rin Xingqian's gaze swept across all the factions. Everyone, please come in. Ren Xingqian said indifferently and made an inviting gesture. This young man has the combat strength of a 3rd-level profound void martial artist. I heard that he used to be the young master of the Ren clan in ancient Magic City. The Rin clan was exterminated, and he came here to take revenge. The destruction of the Towering Sky Sword sect is also related to this young man. Right now, Ren Xingqian's talent and strength are at the peak even in our vast region. Even the young masters of those super factions can't compare to him. Seeing Ren Xingqian, some people from the 5 third-rate forces whispered. The leaders of the forces nodded silently and looked at Ren Xingqian with some amazement. This must be little brother Ren Xingqian. I'm the monarch of the Celestial Soldier Empire. I really didn't expect little brother Ren Xingqian to be a heaven's favorite from ancient Magic City. A group of forces walked inside. An old man dressed in a dragon robe greeted Ren Xingqian with a smile on his face. Celestial Soldier Monarch, I've heard a lot about you. Ren Xingqian cupped his hands. He naturally knew about the Celestial Soldier Monarch. The ancient Magic City belonged to the Celestial Soldier Empire. Speaking of which, the Ren clan was their people in the past. No need. What happened 2 years ago was really regrettable. Little brother Ren Xingqian, do you need to erect a monument in the ancient Magic City to pay tribute to the deceased? The Celestial Soldier Monarch said with a smile. Ren Xingqian was a little moved when he heard the Celestial Soldier Monarch's words. Haha, little brother, leave this matter to us. When the time comes, I'll send someone to call for you. The Celestial Soldier Monarch said with a face full of smiles. It was obvious that he wanted to befriend Ren Xingqian. Thank you, Celestial Soldier Monarch. Rin Xingqian nodded his head in gratitude. "Ha, no need, no need." The Celestial Weapon Monarch waved his hand with a face full of laughter. He was in a great mood. The surrounding forces looked at the Celestial Weapon Monarch with slight envy. Obviously, being able to befriend the people of the Heartless Sword Dao sect at this time was very beneficial to them. Little brother Rin Xingqian is really talented. The sect masters, kings, and clan leaders of the other forces also smiled and tried to get on their good side. Rin Xingqian smiled at them. These people used to be him. They were even existences that the Ren clan had to look up to. Now, all of them were greeting him warmly. "We're here." After walking for more than 10 minutes, they arrived at the banquet hall. At this moment, there were only Wang Xian, Ao Jian, and 2 civil officials of the Dragon Palace in the hall. Everyone welcome. When Wang Xian saw the arrival of the forces, a faint smile appeared on his face as he spoke to them. I dare not. Greetings, sir. It is our honor that sir can invite us. We have brought some small gifts. I hope that sir can accept them with a smile." The forces quickly bowed to Wang Xian and placed the gifts they brought aside. "Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. I've called all of you here today, and I have something that I need your help with." Wang Xian said politely to them, "I don't dare to. If you have anything, you can tell us directly. We will definitely do what we can do." When the group of forces saw how courteous Wang Xian was, they felt a little overwhelmed and quickly said, "Everyone, please take a seat." Wang Xian gestured for everyone to take a seat. All the powerhouses immediately took a seat. They looked at the sumptuous dinner on the table and looked at each other with a little doubt. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Wang Xian. I came from the Luhai region, from afar. I'm new here. Let me toast to everyone. Wang Xian picked up the wine glasses on the table and said to everyone, No. You are too polite, Master Wang." The leaders and experts of the various forces stood up in surprise and said in fear and trepidation. They knew that this very young-looking expert in front of them was a terrifying existence at level 7 of the see-through realm. This was the first time they had seen such a polite level 7 of the see-through realm. It was simply illogical. However, what surprised them was that the Heartless Sword Path sect actually came from the Luhai region. That small place. Everyone here is from a powerful faction within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. I would like everyone to help me find a person. Wang Xian toasted and waved his hand. A portrait flew towards the location of each faction. Everyone, please help me find a person. If I find the person on the portrait, I will definitely repay you handsomely. Thinking of Ling Jian, he silently sighed and said once more, "Oh, find someone?" All the surrounding factions were slightly stunned. They had gathered all these factions just to find a person. And it was even a beauty. This 7th level insightful void tier lord. Lord Wang, may I take the liberty to ask if we should inform you or directly? The monarch of the Celestial Weapon Empire didn't say anything, but his meaning was clear. Inform or directly capture her. Inform me. Everyone, please do a detailed search in your respective domains. Wang Xian said to them, "Sir, don't worry. When we return, we will immediately mobilize all our forces. As long as this lady is in our domain, we will definitely find her for you." The leaders of the various forces immediately said, respectfully, "Yes, thank you very much." Next, let the future sect leader of the Heartless Sword Path sect, Ao Jian and Rin Xingqian, entertain all of you. I will take my leave first. Wang Xian thanked them and gestured to everyone. Then he turned around and went to the peak. No need to thank me. Everyone said hurriedly. When they saw Wang Xian's figure disappear, they were a little moved. This was the first time they had seen such a level 7 insightful void martial artist who was so polite and easy to talk to. Moreover, during the simple conversation just now, they felt that this expert seemed to be very young. Everyone, I am Ao Jian, the sect leader of the Heartless Sword Path sect. I have troubled everyone with the matter of searching for Wang Xian. When Ao Jian saw Wang Xian leave, he stood up and said to all the forces, "Sect leader Ao, you are too polite. Lord Wang is really too polite. Just inform us about such a small matter directly." All the forces spoke to Ao Jian respectfully. When they saw this situation, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts and began to talk enthusiastically. "I hope we can find it. If we can't find it, we can only look for Hiyuan to help." Wang Xian stood on the peak and overlooked this unfamiliar sea area. Chapter 1478. 1478 headed to the He clan. I can't believe that Lord Wang Xian is actually here to look for a girl. It seems like Lord Wang Xian has a close relationship with that girl. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found our vast region from the flowing sea region. The Heartless Sword Dao sect is preparing to recruit disciples in 10 days. Should we send some disciples over to participate in the assessment? At night, a group of forces came out of the Heartless Sword Dao sect and discussed in low voices. Today's banquet was beyond everyone's expectations. They had never expected that the invitation was only to ask them to help find a woman. After we go back tonight, we'll immediately mobilize all our forces to find her. The leaders of the forces thought to themselves. They couldn't slacken off just because the Heartless Sword Path sect's attitude was better. On the contrary, they had to take to heart a terrifying faction that could destroy the Towering Sky Sword sect in a short period of time. If they could really help that lord find her, it would be of great benefit to their entire faction. After the various factions returned, they mobilized all their forces to start searching. In a short period of time, every city within a 1,000-kilometer radius, and even the wilderness, was filled with people searching for a woman. Even the portrait was pasted at the entrance of the city. Once someone discovered it, they would receive a terrifying reward. This reward was comparable to the reward for completing the hiring of a diamond grade item. Once there was a clue, they would also receive a huge reward. This caused everyone within 1,000 kilometers to go crazy. A grand search for Ling Jian ER began. One by one, the news spread to the location of the Heartless Sword sect. Half a month later, Wang Xian sat in the lowest part of the ocean with a helpless look on his face. He looked at the information in front of him and sighed helplessly. According to the information sent by the various major forces, Ling Jian ER had indeed come to the vast area and appeared in the surroundings. However, there was no one around now. After half a month of searching, the entire area could be said to have been dug 3 feet deep. There were only 2 possibilities. One was that Ling Jian was in a sealed area, and the other was that she was no longer here. Wang Xian closed his eyes and waited quietly. Ling Jian Yar's matter had become a worry in his heart. If he didn't find her, he wouldn't be able to sleep and eat in peace. Time flew by, and another half a month passed. He had been in the vast region for an entire month. There was still no news after a month. Phew, I can't wait any longer. Wang Xian exhaled. He stood on the peak and looked down. There were now 100 more disciples below. These were the disciples recruited by the Heartless Sword Path sect. Each one of them was outstanding, and a few golden swordfish taught them the Heartless Sword Principle. Of course, this Heartless Sword Principle was not the complete version, but a very crude Heartless Sword Principle. The power of the Heartless Sword Principle lay in the fact that when they fought, they were cold and heartless. They did not have 7 emotions and 6 desires, but only fought against their enemies. This made their understanding of heaven and earth, and the use and condensation of their sword techniques, more than 10 times that of ordinary people. In addition, they had tempered their sword heart, making it the strongest way of killing. The golden swordfish and the rest mainly taught them how to control their emotions and desires, although they could not reach the true level of heartless swordsmanship. It could also greatly increase their attack power. Ao Jian Ao Yao. Wang Xian flew down from the peak and said to the people below, "I'm here." Two figures appeared in front of Wang Xian and bowed respectfully. "I'll leave the matters here to you guys. I have to go somewhere else. I won't be back anytime soon." Wang Xian said to them, "I'll leave the matters here to you guys and the two civil officials. It's the Dragon King." The two of them nodded. Wang Xian didn't say anything more. He flew out of the heartless Sword Dao sect and headed east. He was very relieved to leave the matters here to Ao, Jinao, and the two civil officials. They knew what to do next. They flew east, and soon a piece of land appeared in front of them. Wang Xian took out a map and looked at the information on it. The He clan is located in the ancient wood forest. They are 500,000 kilometers away from here. Even if they fly at full speed without rest, it would take them 20 days. With the strength of the He clan, apart from the three superpowers, they have people in other places. If I ask them to help me find them, it would be much better than looking for them myself. Wang Xian looked at the map and continued to fly towards the east. The entire vast area was too huge. If he were to search slowly, he might not be able to find it in his lifetime. It was much better to have the help of the He clan than to search by himself. As Wang Xian spoke, he increased his speed and flew at a high speed. After flying for more than 1,000 kilometers, they entered the vast wilderness. Compared to the flowing sea region, the wilderness in the vast area was more dangerous. The strength of the wild beasts was very high, and each of the void interpretation level beasts occupied a territory. The resources in the vast sea region were incomparable to those in the flowing sea region. For example, within a radius of 1,000 kilometers around the heartless Sword Path sect, there were two relatively famous territories. There, one could obtain treasures that were useful for cultivation, and their value was not lower than Transcendent Level 7 or 8 pills, or even higher. The trees in the entire vast area were also taller. Giant trees that were 500 to 600 meters tall could be seen everywhere. There were fewer humans in the wild. Even though Wang Xian was 10,000 meters high in the sky, no one could see him. In order to make time, Wang Xian did not stop halfway. He used all of his time to travel. After more than 10 days, he had already traveled more than 300,000 kilometers. In front of him was a city belonging to the subsidiary forces of the He clan. Wang Xian did not hesitate and flew straight there. There are airships heading to the ancient wood forest in the subsidiary forces of the He clan. Riding on the airships will help me avoid detours. Wang Xian thought for a moment and came to the city gate. He walked straight into the city. The airships originated from a legendary god of the Nine Gods Empire. It was an item created by a formation. Large airships could carry thousands of people, while small ones could carry hundreds of people. The value of airships was very high. Fortunately, the airships would be guarded by strong people to prevent attacks from demonic beasts and ferocious beasts. In the vast region, most people would choose airships when traveling at a distance. It was safe and the speed was not slow. Wang Xian came to the only seat in the city that was taking the airships. He paid a generous sum of spirit stones and waited at the side. Just like the airplanes on Earth, the airship had a fixed time to take off. I really didn't expect that young master, his birthday party would be so big this time. He invited all the heaven's favored disciples of the He clan and all the subsidiary forces of the He clan. I heard that it was young master he who organized it to celebrate his birthday and his cultivation to the second level of the profound void stage. At this moment, a voice that piqued Wang Xian's interest came from a seat not far away. Chapter 1479. 1,479, 1,479. Wang Xian looked over and saw dozens of young men and women walking towards him. Each of them had an excited expression on their faces. The group of people walked towards Wang Xian. Apparently, they were also riding on an airship. This time, young master, he has proposed to the family to establish a mount battle team and establish an independent army of his own. This time, he will only recruit young talents with potential. I wonder if there's a chance. I hope that I can be chosen. Once I'm chosen, young master, he will reward me with a void interpretation level beast mount. This is a void interpretation level beast mount. Moreover, young master, he has a 50% chance of inheriting the position of clan leader of the He clan. Once we are able to join young master his army, we will definitely soar to great heights in the future. Heavens, even if young master he is unable to inherit the position of clan leader of the He clan, with young master his talent and the army he has established, he will be the pillar of the He clan in the future. A group of young men and women walked over and chatted excitedly with each other. Some of the young men looked like they had extraordinary statuses, but they still could not suppress the excitement in their eyes. The airship will take off in 10 minutes. Let's wait here, a young man asked and said to all the young men and women. Dozens of young men stood there and waited, chatting as they waited. Dui Gongzi is here. I didn't expect Dui Gongzi to be here as well. If Dui Gongzi were to be there, he would definitely be one of the 100 spots. Although the Dui clan is very strong and Dui Gongzi has the chance to inherit the position of clan head, there is still a huge gap between him and young master his army and the He clan. Miss Xian Er is here as well. It seems like all of the outstanding young men in Southern Ridge City are here. A few minutes later, a few more young men and women arrived. The status of these young men and women was obviously very high in this city. Wang Xian sat at the side and listened quietly. After listening for a while, he finally understood a little. Young Master He, also known as He Yuan, would be holding a birthday party in half a month's time. Furthermore, he was prepared to build an army and select 100 elite young men. Each of them would be given a void interpretation level ferocious beast. He announced this news to the vast region. As long as there were capable youths, they were welcome to come. This was a great opportunity for the subordinate forces of the He clan, as well as the youths within the forces of the He clan. With He Yuan's current status in the He clan, even some elders couldn't compare to him. In just a few short years, he had tamed over 100 profound, void-tier, demonic beasts. In the future, he had a 50% chance of inheriting the position of clan leader of the He clan. Even if he could not inherit the position, his position in the He clan would not be lower than a clan leader in the future. The He clan was a first-rate clan. Basically, all the forces within a radius of 100,000 kilometers belonged to their subordinate forces. In a first-rate clan, it was also the best. Now that He Yuan was on his birthday, the establishment of an army was a huge opportunity for every young man. Looks like this guy is doing quite well. Wang Xian sat there with a faint smile on his face. The airship is about to take off and head to the forest of the He clan in the ancient wood forest. Please board the airship as soon as possible. At this moment, a middle-aged voice was heard from the airship. Everyone immediately walked into the airship. It was much bigger than the airship that Wang Xian saw at the Heartless Sword Path sect. It was at least 100 meters in size and could seat 300 to 400 people inside. An airship was different from an airplane. It was like a ship. There was an open space on the periphery that looked like the deck of a ship. One could observe the area below while the airship was flying. Wang Xian entered and bought a fixed seat for the airship ticket. When he entered, he realized that there were already people sitting beside him. Wang Xian sat down and looked around. 300 to 400 seats were basically filled. Brother, are you going to celebrate young master his birthday as well? Do you want to join young master He's army? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the side. Wang Xian turned his head and saw a slightly chubby young man with a slit in his eyes looking at him with his head tilted. Let's go and take a look. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly and closed his eyes slowly. Brother, you don't seem to be from Nanling City, right? Where are you from? Look at your impressive appearance. You are a strong competitor of mine. Seeing that Wang Xian closed his eyes and didn't want to speak, the fatty didn't mind and said with a smile, Hey, brother, you have quite a personality. Those who have a personality have a high chance of joining young master He's army. It seems that we are fated to join young master He's army this time. My name is Dui Dazhuang. I'm a core member of the He clan from the previous 15 generations. When Dui Dazhuang saw that Wang Xian was still ignoring him, he did not mind and continued to spout. Damn fatty, shut up. You, a level 7 extraordinary. Still want to join young master He's army? Dream on. If you continue to spout nonsense here, I'll seal your mouth. At this moment, a young man in the front seat turned his head and glared at him. Shut up, shut up. Dui Dezhuang retracted his head and smiled awkwardly. My name is Wang Xian. Wang Xian didn't want to bother with the fatty who was nagging beside him. When he heard the young man shout, he raised his eyebrows slightly and opened his eyes to look at Dui Dezhuang. Brother Wang Xian, what a good name. Dui Dezhuang raised his thumb in a low voice and said with a smile, Tell me, what should He Yuan give for his birthday? Wang Xian asked Dui Mu Dazhuang. Wang Xian had come all the way here for He Yuan's birthday. Furthermore, he was asking for his help. Naturally, he couldn't leave empty-handed. He shouldn't be lacking in weapons and elixirs. Gao Gao, I'm prepared to give a gift to young master He for his birthday. If young master He is satisfied with my gift, he might be able to let me join his army. With young master He status, he doesn't lack any gifts. What he lacks the most is sincerity. Let me show you something secretly. As Dui Dazhuang spoke, he took out an item carefully. Wang Xian looked over and was slightly stunned. It was a wooden sculpture, about 1/2 meter in size. The wooden sculpture was clearly the image of He Yuan. Beside it were 2 mighty, ferocious beasts. It was lifelike. This gift was very exquisite and thoughtful. How is it? Is it lifelike? I finally managed to find a portrait of young master He to carve it into. Young master, he will definitely like it very much when he sees it. Dui Dezhuang squinted his eyes and smiled. He squinted his eyes and couldn't see it anymore. It's pretty good. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly. His heart skipped a beat. After hesitating for a moment, he thought of what to gift. Buzz. At this moment, the airship took off and flew towards the sky at a very fast speed. The speed of this airship was no less than the full speed of a powerhouse at the first level of the profound void stage. Wang Xian stood up and walked towards the location outside. Brother Wang Xian, shall we go and take a look at the scenery? Let's go together. Wang Dazhuang's voice came from behind. Chapter 1480. 1480 Prince, charming 1480. Wang Xian walked out of the airship and arrived outside. With the protection of the formation, he couldn't feel any wind at all. The airship was flying at a speed of 10,000 meters in the air. Its speed was dozens of times faster than the airplanes on Earth. Look at the magnificent mountains and rivers. Just like how ambitious I am. This time, Dui Dezhuang must join young master He's army. Dui Dezhuang, who was following behind him, shouted loudly as soon as he came out. Wang Xian ignored him and went to the railing at the back. With a thought, a pet egg appeared in his hand. The green pet egg was covered with patterns, but there was only a faint trace of life on it. It was as if it was going to die at any moment. This was a pet egg that Wang Xian obtained from the Atlas Sword sect. After destroying the Atlas Sword sect, Wang Xian had gained a lot. Just the conversion of elixirs, herbs, and the like into dragon energy had reached more than 300 billion dragon crystals. A big faction was indeed a big faction. This pet egg was one of the treasures that he obtained. However, Wang Xian could sense that the life in this pet egg was about to die prematurely. A wood elemental pet egg of the 3rd level of the void interpretation realm. If it is nourished by dragon energy, it should be able to raise the level of its bloodline. Wang Xian thought to himself as he held the pet egg with both hands. Brother Wang Xian, why does this pet egg of yours seem lifeless? Do you want to eat it? Lone Wood Dazhuang looked at Wang Xian curiously and asked. Buzz. Wang Xian did not reply him. Waves of dragon energy were injected into the pet egg. A faint green light was emitted. Wang Xian could clearly feel the revival of life in it. Following that, the dragon crystal began to transform its body and bloodline. Crack, crack, crack. A sound that sounded like a breakthrough was heard from inside. Wang Xian was slightly speechless as he felt the consumption of the dragon crystal. However, he did not stop. He continued to upgrade the bloodline level of the pets inside. He did not stop until he reached the 6th level of the see-through realm from the 3rd level of the see-through realm. At this moment, the pet egg was emitting a dazzling green light. This, love is a ray of light, so green that you're panicking? Dui Zhuang, who was standing at the side, saw the strong vitality of the pet egg and said with his eyes wide open in shock, I don't like this damn fatty Dui Zhuang. My father insisted that I marry him, and his mother actually agreed to it. He didn't even look at himself. I feel disgusted just by looking at him. I still like Dui Gongzi. If he is 1/10 of his brother, Dui Gongzi, I would have agreed to it. HMPH, the son of a maid is the son of a maid. At this moment, a voice came from the exit. Following that, 5 or 6 beautiful figures walked over. The one who spoke was a girl who looked a little unruly. Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he heard this voice. It was really, love is a ray of light. You are flustered when you are green. Dui Dazhuang's face turned dark as well. Lianjin, lower your voice. Lianjin, your fiancé is over there. At this moment, some of the girls beside him reminded him while others teased him. Humph. So what if I say it to your face? The seemingly unruly girl raised her head and saw Dui Mudazhuang, but she still said disdainfully, You, Lu Lianjin, don't bully the young and poor. When I join young master, he's army you. TSK, someone like you still dares to think of joining young master, he's army. If you can enter, I, Lu Lianjin, will kneel before you. All right, just you wait, just you wait. Just you wait, just you wait. Do you really think that someone like you can join young master, he's army? Idiot. Dui Dazhuang was furious when he saw the girl mocking him. However, he was interrupted before he could finish his sentence. He was so angry that his fat was trembling. Wang Xian took a look at Dui Dazhuang. Then he turned around and placed the pet egg into his storage spiritual bag. Feeling bored, he found some wood materials from his interspatial ring. All of them were of the insightful void tier. He moved his arm slightly and started to carve slowly with his palm as a knife. The carving was to arouse his interest when he saw the figure carved by Dui Mudazhuang. His palm moved and soon a human figure appeared. The human figure was Ling Jian. With a smile on her face, she was holding a pastry in her hand. The figure was lifelike, just like a real person. Wang Xian held the palm-sized figure and touched it with his hand. He let out a silent sigh and looked forward. What a beautiful and exquisite sculpture. What a powerful level of sculpture. It seems to be much more powerful than Dui Dazhuang. At this moment, a surprised voice came from the side. Miss Sun Sister Sun Dui Mu. When the voice sounded, voices came from behind. Wang Xian didn't turn around. He wasn't trying to show off. Instead, he was looking into the distance. Huh. Dui Mu Dezhuang, who was still full of anger, turned around and looked at the sculpture in Wang Xian's hand. He was instantly stunned. Her mother's sculpture was very exquisite, and he learned sculpture from his mother. In the entire Nanling city, his sculpture level was second. No one dared to say that he was first. Just now, he was showing off his sculpture to Wang Xian. However, Wang Xian had suddenly sculpted a sculpture quickly. A sculpture that was even more exquisite than his. Most importantly, this sculpture was only the size of a palm. As everyone knew, the smaller the sculpture, the harder it was to sculpt and the harder it was to be exquisite. You are 70% as good as me. Dui Mu raised his head and revealed his thick neck as he spoke forcefully. However, no one paid attention to him. Young master, this is the first time I've seen such a beautiful sculpture. Your sculpting skills are really on the level of a master. A faint fragrance wafted over. Wang Xian frowned slightly. At the back, the young man known as Dui Dezhuang frowned slightly when he saw this scene. The fan in his hand stiffened and his expression turned ugly. He had an extraordinary background and outstanding talent, but his looks, to be able to have the same father as Dui Dezhuang, his looks were not much better. He could only be said to be ordinary. When he saw Sun Er walking towards Wang Xian, his expression turned ugly. Sun Er, if you want a statue, I will get Dezhuang to sculpt it for you. He squeezed out a smile and said with an ugly expression, Dezhuang's standard is slightly inferior to this young master. Sun Er shook her head and looked at Wang Xian again. She smiled and said, This young master, I am Yuan Sun Er. May I know your name? Yuan Sun Er asked Wang Xian. However, Wang Xian still did not answer. He continued to look into the distance. This made Yuan Sun Er frown slightly. She looked at her body with some doubt. She was still as beautiful as ever. Young master, can I plead with you? Of course, I will give you a reward. Can you carve a sculpture for me? Yuan Sun Er spoke to Wang Xian again. No. He spat out 2 words, coldly without turning his head. After the incident with Ling Jian, he came to a conclusion. He was too outstanding and was too popular with girls. In order to prevent something like Ling Jian from happening, he can only quietly do a cold male god, disdain any beauty. Chapter 1481. 1481 stunned. He won't. Yuan Sun Er was stunned. Her expression slowly turned ugly. He won't. She had witnessed with her own eyes how this young man used his hand as a knife to quickly carve an exquisite sculpture. Now he actually said he wouldn't. What did this mean? Young master, if you don't want to carve, then so be it. Do you have to say you won't? Yuan Sun Er said to Wang Xian with a sullen face and some anger. I don't want to. Wang Xian heard her words and said faintly, You. When Yuan Sun Er heard these 3 words from him, her face instantly darkened. Humph. She snorted softly and turned around to leave with a flushed face. This was the most unreasonable young man she had ever seen. She even wondered if the other party was blind. HMPH. Birds of a feather flock together. Lu Lianjin's face was filled with disdain when he saw Wang Xian angering Yuan Sun Er. He looked at Dimu Dezhuang, who was at the side, and said disdainfully. He immediately followed him inside. This brother really has a personality. When Dimu saw Yuan Sun Er leave in anger, a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. He waved the feather fan in his hand and stared at Wang Xian with a twinkle in his eyes. The 5 young men standing beside him also raised their eyebrows and stood behind Dimu. When Dimu Dezhuang saw his big brother's expression, his expression changed slightly. Big brother, I saw that Miss Sun wanted to talk to this brother of mine, so I deliberately let him talk like this. Isn't this to not disturb you, big brother? He spoke to Dimu Dezhuang embarrassedly. Scram, disgusting thing, did I talk to you? Dumu Dezhuang heard his words and spoke without any mercy. This made Dumu Dezhuang smile embarrassedly and didn't continue to speak. Obviously, this wasn't the first time he had seen such an attitude. "Brother, let's discuss something." Dumu Dezhuang looked at Wang Xian, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "Speak." Wang Xian looked at him indifferently and said expressionlessly, "You, carve a statue for me immediately. It's the statue of the beauty from earlier. Also, apologize to her." Young Master Dumu stared at Wang Xian with a smile and said faintly, "Is there something wrong with your big brother's brain?" Wang Xian heard his words and looked at Dumu Dezhuang, who was at the side. Dumu Dezhuang's expression changed slightly when he heard what Wang Xian said. "Ha ha ha! Brother Wang Xian said that there's something wrong with my brain. Indeed. Tell me again." Dumu Dezhuang laughed and said loudly. However, when Dumu Dezhuang heard what Wang Xian said, his expression immediately turned dark and cold. They stared at Wang Xian coldly. Behind him, the faces of the 5 young men also turned cold. Long swords appeared in their hands, one after another. "Get lost. Don't challenge my patience." Wang Xian swept his cold gaze across the 6 of them. There was no emotion on his face. "Phut! Who do you think you are? Let me tell you, do as our young master says. Otherwise, you will be in big trouble today." A young man standing behind young Master Dumu pointed his long sword at Wang Xian and shouted sternly, "Crack! Crack! Crack!" However, just as the long sword in his hand was raised and aimed at Wang Xian, the long sword in his hand started to crack slowly and fell to the ground piece by piece. "Huh!" The young man was slightly stunned and his face was filled with astonishment. "Who is making a move here?" At this moment, a cold voice was suddenly heard. An old man dressed in green clothes appeared beside them. The old man stared at the long sword in the young man's hand. He raised his eyebrows slightly and scanned the surroundings. "Sir." When young Master Dumu and the rest of the young men saw the old man's figure, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly shouted in fear. The old man ignored them and looked at Wang Xian. "No one is allowed to make a move inside the airship." "I know." Wang Xian nodded his head. He knew that the entire airship was enveloped by a formation. When he mobilized any energy here, it would be under the surveillance of the formation. This formation was controlled by humans. Wang Xian's non-formation ability could not evade it. Therefore, the moment he mobilized the energy, he was discovered by the old man in front of him. The old man's strength was at level 4 void interpretation. He was not weak, but he was still far from Wang Xian. "Not bad, young man." The old man nodded at him and praised him. Judging from the energy he mobilized just now, he was at least at the peak of level 1 of the see-through realm. He was very impressed by Wang Xian's cultivation at such a young age. "If you guys want to die, I will throw you all down and return to your positions. Don't move." Following that, the old man looked at young Master Dui Mu and the others and said coldly, "Duh." Young Master Dui Mu was slightly stunned and said with an embarrassed expression. However, when he saw the old man's cold expression, he hurriedly swallowed his words. He nodded his head in fear and walked into the airship. At the same time, his eyes flickered and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva in fear. He thought of the old man's attitude towards him and the young man just now. When he thought of the sharp sword just now, cold sweat appeared on his forehead. That young man's strength is definitely very strong. It's possible. His heart sank as he guessed with an embarrassed expression. "My treasured sword. This is a transcendent level 9 sharp sword. Just now it actually directly." At this moment, the young man's distressed voice came from behind, causing young Master Dumu to take a deep breath. Damn it! He clenched his fists and cursed under his breath. With a dark expression, he returned to his seat and didn't dare to leave. "Fuck, fuck, Brother Wang Xian, Brother Wang Xian, the Lord just now actually said that you're not bad. He directly berated Dimu Tianyuan, that bastard. And that sword, brother, are you a Heaven's Pride expert? Are you a Heaven's Pride expert at the profound void realm? Dui Zhuang, who was at the side, saw his brother leaving with an extremely embarrassed expression. After seeing the old man leave, he let out a series of exclamations. Is that your real big brother? Wang Xian didn't answer him. Instead, he asked him, Yes, we have the same father. Hee. Big brother Wang Xian, are you curious about our relationship? My mother is a maid. It's a very cliché story. She had sex with my father and gave birth to me. Although I'm from the Duga family, I'm not well liked. I barely have a name. Brother, you've seen it too. Those guys don't even give me face. Dumu Dazhuang chuckled. Then you're not angry. Wang Xian looked at him curiously. I'm angry. I was angry at first too. But after hearing what my mother said, I'm not angry at all. My mother was from an ordinary family. Because of her good carving skills, she worked in the Duga family. If not for that melodramatic story, my mother would have married a very ordinary man. If my mother had married an ordinary man, then I would have been a kid from an ordinary family. There was even a possibility that I wouldn't have existed. So this is a good thing for me. Although that bullshit big brother of mine and some young disciples look down on me, I am still a famous person with a background in Nanling City. There's no need to run around because of some other things. I'm already very satisfied with putting my life on the line. Dui Dazhuang said very optimistically. Chapter 1482 1482 Forest of the He Clan. Big brother, tell me, are you a powerhouse at the level of the void interpretation? I want to cling onto Big Brother's legs. If Big Brother becomes successful in the future, I want to see those guys still dare to be arrogant in front of me. Haha. Once Dui Dazhuang opened his mouth, he started to talk nonstop. It had to be said that Dui Dazhuang was a very optimistic person. As the saying goes, the heart is broad and the body is fat. He must be someone like him. Wang Xian took a piece of wood and used his hand as a knife to carve the statue again. He had never learned how to carve before. However, with his focus and terrifying control, he could easily complete the carving. Speaking of which, he relied on his powerful strength to carve. While Wang Xian was carving, Lone Wood Dazhuang, who was at the side, did not care whether he was listening or not. He kept on talking. Look down. We are in the ancient wood forest. There is an area of 10,000 kilometers in front of us. The He clan's forest is located in the middle of the ancient wood forest. In the past, the ancient wood forest was a paradise for ferocious beasts and demonic beasts. 10,000 years ago, the first leader of the He clan, Huentian, appeared out of nowhere. He swept through all the ferocious beasts and demonic beasts in the ancient wood forest. He took over the heart of the ancient wood forest and established the He clan today. After flying for an hour, Dui Dazhuang pointed ahead and introduced the He clan to Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked ahead and saw an endless forest. It was a gigantic tree that was 500 to 600 meters tall. Each tree had a diameter of more than 10 meters. It was a spectacular sight. Ancient wood forest, the territory of the He clan. The He clan's forest has arrived. 3 hours later, Dui Dazhuang's exclamation was heard once again. Wang Xian's heart was moved as he looked ahead. A majestic life force was rushing towards them. The trees were twice as tall as the entrance and twice as large in diameter. The rich life force and the majestic wood attribute energy were at least 5 to 6 times that of the outside world. The speed of wood attribute cultivators cultivating here was several times faster than the outside world. Even if they were not wood element cultivators, they would still have great benefits here. The gigantic trees were neatly built. Looking down from the sky, it was like a fairyland. Is this the He clan's forest? Even the ancient bloodstream sect in the flowing sea region can't compare to it. Wang Xian revealed a hint of surprise in his eyes as he looked down. Brother Wang Xian, with your strength, you will definitely be able to join young master his army this time. Don't forget about me in the future. Standing at the side, Duai Wang said with a fawning expression. Wang Xian glanced at him and didn't say anything. He looked down. The He clan's forest was filled with wooden buildings. The entire area was filled with unique features. The airship kept flying forward. After more than 10 minutes, a huge tree with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters appeared in their line of sight. The tree was 2,000 to 3,000 meters tall and shot straight into the clouds. That is the center of the He clan's forest, the holy tree known as the heart of the forest. Lone Tree Dezhuang introduced it to Wang Xian. He nodded his head slowly. The resources in the vast area could not be compared to the flowing sea region. There were many paradises here. The most famous place in the vast region was the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. It was an extremely mystical paradise. The forest of the He clan is arriving soon. Everyone get ready. At this moment, the sound of a notification came from the airship. The airship flew towards the location below. Everyone get down. The airship did not land on the ground. Instead, it floated in the sky. The formation that was blocking the airship disappeared. Wang Xian's body moved, and he flew straight down. Brother Wang Xian, wait for me. Dui Dezhuang followed behind and caught up to Wang Xian hurriedly. Aren't you going with the people from Nanling City? Wang Xian looked at him and asked faintly. No. This is your first time here, brother. I've been here twice. Why don't I show you around? Dui Dezhuang rubbed his hands with a smile and said to him, Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head. Do you know where He Yuan is? Young Master He? Of course, young Master He is at the Holy Tree. We can't enter. If we want to see young Master He, we have to wait until his birthday. Dui Dezhuang pointed at the huge tree in front of him and said with a smile. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before nodding his head slowly. He Yuan's birthday would arrive in a few days. He would be looking for him then. Let's go, brother. I'll show you around here. Within 100 kilometers of this area, it's the most lively spot. There's everything. Dui Dezhuang said with a smile on his face. Wang Xian nodded his head and followed beside him. This damned Dumu Dezhuang, this damned fellow. At the back, Dumu Gongzi's face turned gloomy when he saw Dumu Dezhuang and Wang Xian leaving. Huff! He took a deep breath and a helpless expression appeared on his face. Humph! Yun Sinar, who was at the side, looked at Wang Xian's back and snorted coldly with an embarrassed expression. Do you know what is the most famous thing in the He clan's forest? Bejeweled nectar. TSK, you don't know. The wine brewed with bejeweled nectar and the tea brewed are the best in the world. Dui Dezhuang acted as if he was very familiar with the place. He introduced the place to Wang Xian with a smile. Wang Xian nodded. It was his first time here. It was much more convenient to have acquaintances. Let's go. Dui Dezhuang led Wang Xian forward. The He clan's forest was located in the middle of the forest. They were also walking in the forest. The ground was a kind of soft grass. It was very soft when they stepped on it. There were small rivers around them, and there was a kind of car beside the river. The one pulling the car was a kind of elk. It was a herbivorous animal and looked very docile. There were many wooden houses around. Some of the wooden houses were selling various items. Are we not there yet? After walking for more than an hour, Wang Xian looked at Dui Dezhuang and asked, Cough, almost there. We should be there in another 3 hours or so. Let's go, let's train our bodies and lose weight. Dui Dezhuang coughed and exercised his body. Let's take the carriage. Wang Xian said directly, Cough, Brother Wang Xian, this carriage is extremely expensive. I have spirit stones. Wang Xian was a little speechless. It turned out that this fellow didn't have any spirit stones to take the carriage. Haha, all right. Brother Wang Xian, let me tell you. Although I don't have any spirit stones now, I will become a diamond bachelor in 2 days. Dui Dezhuang narrowed his eyes and laughed out loud. The two of them got into the carriage. The carriage shuttled through the forest of the He clan and arrived at the place Dui Dezhuang had mentioned in less than 20 minutes. Compared to their previous location, this place was obviously much livelier. There were many humans and a group of green, humanoid, demonic beasts around them. They were from the forest fairy race and were one of the important members of the He clan. This time there are no less than 5,000 to 6,000 young elites who want to join young Master He's army for his birthday. Dui Dezhuang looked at the young elites around him and frowned slightly. Chapter 1483. 1483 Forest Fairy Princess. I want to become a member of the He Yuan army. The competition is a little too intense. Dui Dezhuang rubbed his fat chin and shook his head with a frown. Wang Xian took a glance at the side. With Dui Dezhuang's strength, it was simply wishful thinking for him to join the He Yuan army. His cultivation base was only at level 7 of the extraordinary realm. In the eyes of the young talents, he was not at the bottom, but he could not be ranked either. This is the place, Brother Wang Xian. Come, let's go in. Dui Dezhuang pointed at a tavern and tea house that was leaning against a tree and said to Wang Xian. He looked at the shop that Dui Dezhuang was referring to, and then looked at the other shops around him. This shop was obviously the one with the lowest rank. After knowing that Dui Dezhuang would need to walk for 4 hours to get here, he shook his head slightly. Let's go to the best tea house here. Wang Xian said directly to him. Really, Brother Wang Xian? The best tea house. A pot of tea costs millions of middle-grade spirit stones. Dui Dezhuang's eyes lit up as he said, Go! Wang Xian spat out a word indifferently. Haha, tycoon, inhumane. When I have spirit stones in a few days, please come to this tea house to have a taste. Dui Dezhuang gave Wang Xian a thumbs up and pointed at the restaurant in front of him as he spoke generously. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Being together with this fatty Dui Dezhuang, he felt a little more relaxed. The closer they were to the holy tree, the higher the value of the items. The best restaurant was about 5 kilometers away from the holy tree. Further inside was the territory of the He clan. The rest of the people were prohibited from entering. TSK, this is really delicious. It's rare in the human world. Sitting in a restaurant with more than 10 floors, Dui Dezhuang was tasting the food while clicking his tongue. Wang Xian sat across from him and looked at the He clan. There were more than 2,000 insightful void stage powerhouses in the He clan, which was much more than the Dragon Palace. Compared to them, the Dragon Palace was slightly weaker. A clan that has been around for tens of thousands of years must have a deep heritage. Wang Xian thought to himself. After staying in the tea house for 2 hours, Dui Dezhuang brought Wang Xian around. The various shops were similar to other cities, but they were much richer. The scenery and environment could not be compared to a city. After strolling around for a while, they found a place to stay. When night fell, they stayed in a quiet wooden house. The smell of nature made them feel calm. For the next 3 to 4 days, Dui Dezhuang brought Wang Xian around. All kinds of beautiful and harmonious places made people feel happy. Brother Wang Xian, I can't go out today. I have something very important to do. On the 5th day, Dui Dezhuang didn't follow Wang Xian. Instead, he started his great business of earning money alone. Wang Xian didn't pay attention to him. He drank tea every day and waited quietly. In the next few days, the entire He clan's forest became lively. There were many young talents. The surroundings were filled with discussions about young master, his birthday, and his army. Let's go to Dui Dezhuang's place and take a look. After 5 to 6 consecutive days, Wang Xian was a little bored. He walked towards Dui Dazhuang's place. During these few days, Wang Xian also knew that Dui Mu Dazhuang had rented a small house and started a business. He was selling sculptures of all kinds. Judging from his happy look every night, business should be good. When Wang Xian arrived at the area where the He clan's forest specialized in selling all kinds of items, he came to a very small wooden house. Dui Mu Dazhuang was sitting at the door. There were over 100 sculptures in front of the door. There were all kinds of sculptures of ferocious beasts and demonic beasts. His fat body was exceptionally eye-catching as he sat there. "How's business?" Wang Xian walked over and asked with a smile. "Brother Wang Xian, you're here. Haha, come in and have a seat. Let me tell you, my business is very good." Dui Dazhuang grinned and invited Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded and walked into the shop. The moment he entered, 2 forest spirits walked over and sized up the statues one by one. "Brother Wang Xian, you sit here. I am too busy with my business. Hee." Dui Dazhuang immediately introduced his statues to the 2 forest spirits. Wang Xian took a look and took out a pot of tea from his interspatial ring. He placed it there and drank the tea while looking around. The corner of Dui Dazhuang's mouth twitched when he saw the tea that Wang Xian took out. His sculpture was sold for 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. But compared to the tea that Wang Xian drank for millions of middle-grade spirit stones, he was basically a pauper. Selling it for a day might not even be worth as much as a mouthful of tea. "Brother Wang Xian, where did you learn your carving skills from? Why are you so awesome?" After a while, Dui Dazhuang's voice was heard after the 2 guests left. "I've never learned it before." Wang Xian shook his head lightly. "Brother Wang Xian, I admire your ability to act cool." Dui Dazhuang's voice was heard. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth twitched. He took out a material and started carving it himself. He would give it to Shu Qing and the rest when he returned. "Brother He Feng, what gift do you think you should give to Brother He Yuan?" Not far ahead, a group of young men were strolling around. When they saw this group of young men, some of the people around them showed a hint of respect. The leader was a humanoid woman who was filled with exotic beauty. She had a head full of long green hair. Beside her was a young man who was wearing white and green clothes with a warm smile on his face. Beside this young man called He Feng, there were 2 young men following behind him respectfully. Behind the forest vixen woman, there were more than 20 women following. "I don't know either. Little brother, He Yuan doesn't lack anything. The things we gave him really don't catch his eye." When He Feng heard the woman's words, a trace of jealousy flashed across his eyes as he shook his head and said, "That's true. With brother He Yuan's importance in the He clan, he doesn't lack any pills or weapons." The forest fairy woman at the front shook her head helplessly as she looked around. Is this shop newly opened?" Suddenly, the woman saw a shop placing items at the entrance and walked over curiously. Single tree Dazhuang. At the back of the lady, Yuan Sun-er saw the princess of the forest fairy clan walking towards the shop in front of her. She looked over and was slightly stunned. She frowned when she saw Wang Xian, who was in the shop. She was able to follow the princess of the forest fairy clan today because of an elder sister from his mother's clan. This made her excited for a long time. The forest fairy clan was a 7th level profound void tier demon beast clan. It was an important part of the He clan and had a high status. Not to mention, there was also a young master of the He clan following them. These statues are pretty good. Unfortunately, they are somewhat ordinary. The forest fairy princess walked over and looked at the statues on the ground with curiosity. Chapter 1484. 1484 was here. No one dared to reject me. Beauty, don't look at my sculptures as ordinary. You have to see their inner nature. Look at them. They are so lifelike and beautiful. Look at how cute these sculptures are. Even though you are like a fairy from heaven, you are still a match for me. Seeing a group of women with extraordinary statuses walking over, Dui Dezhuang's eyes lit up as he hurriedly introduced them. Oh no, although they are not bad, they are too ordinary. Little fatty bro, do you have anything more exquisite here? The forest fairy princess shook her head and asked Dui Zhuang. Little fatty bro. Dui Dazhuang's face turned black when he heard Dui Dazhuang address him. All the sculptures are here. Mine is already very exquisite. Look at the color, the expression, the eyes. Dui Mu Dazhuang continued to introduce the sculptures. Although the sculptures are not bad, the materials are a little bad. If you are an expert, you don't need to learn how to sculpt to be able to create sculptures that are even more exquisite than this. If you want to give it to young master the grade is definitely not high enough. The girls at the back looked at the sculpture and whispered. The forest fairy princess shook her head slowly with disappointment in her eyes. Cousin Qinglian, I know that the young man in the fatty's room is a master sculptor. The objects he is sculpting are several grades higher than this fatty. At the back, Yuan Sun hesitated for a moment. She looked at Wang Xian, who was in the room, and whispered to the woman beside her. Huh, Sun Air, how did you know? The woman was slightly stunned and looked at Yuan Sun Air in astonishment. That fatty is from the same city as me. I have seen that young man carving things with my own eyes. But what's the matter? Yuan Sun said with some hesitation. The woman at the side quickly asked, But that young man's temper is a little strange. When I asked him to help me carve, he ignored me. His attitude was very bad. Yuan Sun said with some dissatisfaction in her heart. Oh really? This is not a matter. If Princess Lin Yaoyao asked that young man to carve, it would be his honor. Why would he refuse? The woman smiled and shook her head. She did not take these words to heart at all. That's true. Yuan Sun nodded. That young man was obviously here to join young master He's army. Now that the princess of the forest Yaoyao clan asked him to carve, it was a blessing for him. Princess Yaoyao. At this time, Yuan Sun's cousin saw that Princess Lin Yaoyao was about to leave. She quickly walked over and greeted respectfully. Yes, Qinglian, what's the matter? Lin Yaoyao looked at the woman and asked curiously. Princess Yaoyao, as far as I know, the young man in the fatty shop is very good at carving. He is much better than that fatty. Why don't... The woman probed Princess Lin Yaoyao. Oh, really? Lin Yaoyao looked over and looked at Wang Xian, who was in the shop. Then she took 2 steps forward. At this moment, she saw a few sculptures placed on the table beside Wang Xian. The sculptures were emitting a green glow. When the young man moved, the sculptures actually moved. This made her face reveal surprise and love. Feng, who was at the side, also looked over curiously. Little fatty, please call the young man in your shop over. I want to ask him to carve a sculpture. Lin Yaoyao smiled at Dui Dezhuang as she stared at Wang Xian. Oh, you want brother Wang Xian to carve a statue? Dui Dezhuang was stunned for a moment before a troubled expression appeared on his face. I'll go and ask. Dui Dezhuang knew Wang Xian's temper. He was a little cold and indifferent, as though he didn't care about anything. To be honest, even a man like him felt that he was a little handsome. However, this group of people in front of him was from the forest goblins. The rest of them also seemed to have extraordinary statuses. It wouldn't be good to offend them. As he spoke, he immediately entered the room. Brother Wang Xian, there's a big business deal. I'll talk to you about it. It can definitely... I heard what you said outside. I'm not doing it. Dui Dezhuang was interrupted by Wang Xian as he spoke. This caused his face to turn stiff. He looked at the tea on Wang Xian's table that was worth millions of middle-grade spirit stones and shook his head. This beauty, I'm really sorry. This brother of mine doesn't carve things for outsiders. Dui Dezhuang walked out and said to Lin Yaoyao with a smile on his face, you don't want to carve? Tell me, how many spirit stones do you want? Lin Yaoyao was slightly stunned and asked directly, This is not a problem of spirit stones. Dui Dezhuang shook his head in embarrassment. 10 million middle-grade spirit stones. Lin Yaoyao said directly. Dui Dezhuang's eyes lit up when he heard this number. He turned his head to look at Wang Xian in the room and shook his head bitterly. It's really not a problem of spirit stones. 100 million middle-grade spirit stones. Lin Yaoyao continued. Dui Dezhuang turned around and looked at Wang Xian in a daze. 500 million middle-grade spirit stones. Lin Yaoyao also stared at Wang Xian. She raised her head slightly and said, No matter how much it is, I won't sculpt it. Wang Xian immediately rejected her. Lin Yaoyao frowned when she heard his unwavering rejection. Young master, it's your good fortune that our Princess Lin Yaoyao asked you to sculpt something. Yuan Sun Er's cousin walked over and said directly with a frown, Yes, our Princess Lin Yaoyao asked you to sculpt, and you refused. Young master has a personality, but our Princess Yaoyao asked you to sculpt, so don't be disrespectful. The group of girls behind Lin Yaoyao spoke, and they directly revealed Lin Yaoyao's identity. In the entire He clan's forest, the position of the princess of the forest Yaoyao clan was only lower than 2 or 3 young masters of the He clan. Lin Yaoyao did not speak. She stared at Wang Xian indifferently. You don't know how to sculpt. However, what surprised everyone was that Wang Xian's cold voice came directly without any hesitation. This caused Lin Yaoyao's expression to change slightly. Her face was filled with displeasure. When Dui Dezhuang, who was standing at the side, heard the girl's words and Wang Xian's rejection, his body trembled. What the fuck? His fat body hurriedly ran to Wang Xian's side. My big brother, that's the princess of the forest goblins. Big brother, do you know the status of the forest goblins' princess? She's an awesome person who's only slightly inferior to young Master He. 500 million middle-grade spirit stones. We agree, we agree. Dui Dezhuang lowered his voice and reminded Wang Xian in a low voice. No. Wang Xian shook his head. With his current strength, what he didn't want wouldn't be changed by some weaklings. It was obviously impossible. Dui Dezhuang's face turned black. Ahem, Your Highness, I'm sorry. My shop is closed today. It's closed. He walked out with a smile on his face as he braced himself and said, The last thing he wanted had happened. HMPH, do you really think you're so great? I'll smash your shop in the future. Lin Yaoyao's temper flared up when she heard his words. She said angrily and turned around to leave. Wait. At this moment, Hifeng, who was standing at the side, extended his hand to block Lin Yaoyao, who was about to leave angrily. He looked ahead and stared at Wang Xian, who was inside. I am Hifeng. Please carve an item for Princess Yaorao. Hifeng said proudly. Hifeng cough, cough, cough. When Lone Wood Dazhuang heard this name, he was so excited that his face turned red. He coughed violently twice. However, Wang Xian did not respond at all. This caused Hifeng's expression to turn cold. I repeat, I am Hifeng. I order you to carve an item for Princess Yaoyao. No one dares to reject me here. His voice turned colder and colder. Chapter 1485. 1485. No one dared to reject me here. No one dares to reject me here. A cold voice sounded. Hifeng stood there and stared at Wang Xian with a cold gaze. Hiss, young Master Hifeng? What's going on? What are young Master Hifeng and Princess Yaoyao doing here? It seems like Princess Yaoyao wants something, but the others don't agree. There are still people who dare to disagree in the He clan's forest. He still wants to hang around here? Some people in the surrounding area heard He Feng's words and sucked in a cold breath. They looked over in shock. Everyone clearly knew what He Feng represented in the He clan's forest. This was the core disciple of the He clan's current generation. Although he wasn't as famous as young Master He Yuan, he couldn't be underestimated. He was definitely the leader of this generation's He clan. In this place, no one dared to reject He Feng, unless they did not want to stay here anymore. Some people in the surroundings looked over. Lin Yaoyao frowned slightly when she saw how domineering He Feng was. However, she did not stop him. She was also a little displeased with Wang Xian's cold rejection. This. When Dimu Dezhuang heard He Feng's words, he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and ran to Wang Xian's side hurriedly. Big brother, big master, He Feng, the young master of the He clan. This is their territory. Dui Dezhuang, reminded Wang Xian anxiously. Young master of the He clan, are you preparing to forcefully buy and sell? Wang Xian looked at the anxious Dui Zhuang, shook his head and said faintly, When He Feng heard what Wang Xian said, his face darkened and a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. It seems that you are not giving me face, He Feng. He Feng's face was gloomy. His gaze was filled with coldness as he stared at Wang Xian. Wang Xian ignored him. He brewed a cup of tea unhurriedly and started to taste it. He looked at the few sculptures in his hands. The atmosphere instantly froze. Cold sweat started to form on Dui Mu Dazhuang's forehead. He wiped his face anxiously. He Feng's expression slowly turned ugly. He was the dignified young master of the He clan, and when he questioned him, this fellow actually leisurely poured a cup of tea and drank it. What the fuck? It was simply a silent humiliation. This made He Feng's expression change in embarrassment. It was impossible to make a move. As a famous top-tier force in the vast region, the He clan had its own rules. If the young master of the He clan were to use his strength to bully ordinary people, what would outsiders think? In this place, even if he was the young master of the He clan, he could not bully the weak in public, let alone kill people. Lin Yaoyao and the girls behind her were also stunned when they saw the scene. This fellow did not even give the young master of the He clan any face. Good, very good. I will remember this matter. He Feng smiled sinisterly. He took a deep look at Wang Xian and said, I hope you don't regret it. As he spoke, he turned around and left with an embarrassed expression. When the crowd heard He Feng's threat, their pupils constricted slightly. They looked at Wang Xian sympathetically. This kid really has a backbone. However, offending young master He Feng is simply courting death. Some people thought to themselves as they silently watched He Feng leave in anger. Lin Yaoyao saw that Wang Xian didn't even care about He Feng. She snorted in surprise and left as well. Yuan Sun and the rest followed behind with a face full of confusion. It's over. Brother Wang Xian, you're done for. It's possible that even I'm done for. Seeing He Feng leave with a face full of anger, Dui Zhuang said anxiously as he paced around the shop. Brother Wang Xian, I think you'd better run away quickly. Otherwise, you're really done for. He Feng won't deal with you in public, but it's too easy to deal with you in secret. You'd better run away quickly. As he spoke, he sat opposite Wang Xian and said, It's all right, there's no need to be anxious. Wang Xian saw him pacing around anxiously and shook his head. How can I not be in a rush? It's getting late. Let's go back and rest. Wang Xian stood up and walked out without a care in the world. Brother Wang Xian. Dumu Dezhuang looked at Wang Xian with a face full of astonishment and helplessness. He had finally witnessed Wang Xian's true personality. Dumu Dezhuang hurriedly packed his things and followed behind Wang Xian. He kept on nagging along the way. Help me check the residence of that fellow. At a spot not far away from the holy tree, He Feng walked in with a gloomy face. He spoke to the two young men behind him coldly. "Young master," "do you want us to get rid of him directly?" The two young men behind him said with murderous intent in their eyes. "What do you think?" Phone glanced at the two of them indifferently. "I've said it before. No one dares to refuse me here. The result of refusing is death." The cold voice startled the two young men. They immediately nodded. "Young master, don't worry. We know what to do. But guard there." "It's fine. Just say what I want you to do." Phone didn't seem to mind at all and directly said, "I'll leave this matter to you. I want to enter the holy tree. When my seventh brother's birthday comes, report back to me." As he spoke, he directly walked into a door that seemed to be wrapped with life and entered. The two young men stopped there. When they saw Feng's back disappear, they looked at each other. Ask the two experts who have pledged allegiance to young master, to make a move. This is the first time I've seen such a suicidal fellow. If he were to anger young master, he would be courting death. If young master, wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as squashing an ant to death. There will always be ants courting death. What can we do? After today, Phone won't be able to remember this ant at all. As the two spoke, they walked out. The He clan had absolute control over the entire He clan's forest. If the He clan wanted to find a person here, they would be able to do so in less than an hour. When the sky darkened, countless fireflies lit up the entire world in the He clan's forest. The night in the He clan's forest was like a dreamlike fairy tale world. The place where Wang Xian lived was a very high-end place in the He clan's forest. The daily rent was 100,000 middle-grade spirit stones. The house was situated 300 meters in the air. The house was built in the middle of two trees. It was extremely beautiful. Dui Dezhuang was also living alone in his house. He could be considered to be living in this luxurious room under the influence of Wang Xian. Young master Phone is magnanimous. He won't take revenge. He will take revenge. He won't take revenge. In the room of One Tree Dezhuang, he was holding a flower in his hand. He plucked the petals one by one while muttering to himself. Growing up in a decent family, he knew the breadth of mind of some young masters. If someone offended him, he would secretly deal with him even if he couldn't make a move on the spot. He plucked the petals one by one. He will take revenge. And that's it? No, I must have said something wrong. I won't take revenge. I won't take revenge. In the house, his mouth was trembling. It was late at night, not far away, for figures were looking in his direction. Chapter 1486. 1486, in the blink of an eye, 1486, turned into ashes. Elderly, he's up there. A young man is so arrogant that he doesn't even give young master any face. The He clan's forest was quieter in the middle of the night. The chirping of some insects made the entire night very pleasant to the ears. Occasionally there would be people walking, but it was no longer as lively as during the day. At this time it was a pure land. Two young men and two old men were standing in the shadows not far away, talking. "An ant, we can easily crush him to death." The two old men nodded indifferently. They didn't care at all about a young man who was courting death and had offended their young master. Then leave it to the two old men. The two young men said with a smile, "Wait until the experts from the patrol team arrive. Tell them about it." The two old men nodded and said to them, "Don't worry, old men. The young master has already instructed us. Don't worry and take action." The two men nodded. It was forbidden to take action within the He clan's forest. Even the profound void martial experts did not dare to disobey. "All right." As the two men spoke, they waved their arms, and an array formation directly enveloped the area in front of them. In order to prevent alerting the others, they had to use the formation to cover the area. However, they knew the consequences of releasing the formation. That was if they were discovered by the patrol team in the He clan's forest. Buzz! The fluctuation of the formation instantly enveloped the house that Wang Xian was staying in. At the same time, there was also the house that was built with a single tree. As for one tree Dazhuang, he was just killing him along the way. In the house that was 300 meters long, Wang Xian was lying in the room. He suddenly felt the fluctuation of energy around him and raised his eyebrows slightly. Such a narrow-minded person. If he really had a conflict with the He clan. He frowned slightly and revealed an unhappy expression. Wang Xian didn't want to see a conflict with the He clan. However, it was obviously impossible for him to lower his head to a kid at level 2 of the see-through realm. A hint of coldness slowly appeared in Wang Xian's eyes. There's a fluctuation in the formation. Southwest direction, you're courting death. At this moment, the moment the formation was activated, 3 see-through realm experts from the Forest Fairy race and 4 see-through realm experts from the He clan were slightly shocked. They flew over at a terrifying speed. Sir Patrols, we are the subordinates of young Master He Feng. When the 7 patrolling experts flew over, the 2 young men who had been waiting below immediately called out to them, respectfully, what are the 2 of you doing? This array formation has something to do with you. The 7 insightful emptiness realm experts narrowed their eyes slightly and glanced at the 2 people below, their gazes fixed on the position of the array formation. Through a special method, they could see the 2 old men floating in the sky. Reporting to the lords, we are here to take care of a kid under the orders of young Master He Feng. The 2 young men immediately said, respectfully. Their words caused the 7 patrolling experts to frown slightly. During the day, young Master He Feng and Princess Yao Yao came across a shop and wanted a young man to help them sculpt objects. Not only did that young man not agree, but he even insulted young Master and the others, so the 2 of them explained to the 7 patrolling experts. The 7 of them looked at each other. Naturally, they did not believe their clumsy excuses. Since we have provoked young Master He Feng, let's kill him. A middle-aged man said in a deep voice, Tell young Master He Feng not to do such things that break the rules. I really admire young Master He Feng. It is already good enough that he did not kill him in public. He is decisive in killing and compliments young Master He Yuan. Have He Feng's men wipe out all traces. The 7 patrols looked at each other and said, but did not stop this matter. Moreover, it was not the first time they had encountered such a thing. However, with He Feng's talent and status, killing a few reckless fellows in the dark, killing them was as good as killing them. Yes, don't worry, my lords. There's only a young man inside. Elder Du and Elderly are both 3rd-level void interpretation experts. We'll be able to settle this very quickly. The 2 of them said hurriedly. The 7 of them nodded their heads and looked towards the position of the formation. Through their perception of the trees, they could see the scene inside the formation clearly. At this moment, the 2 elders were floating in the sky 300 meters away. They were staring at the house in front of them. Elder Du and Elderly exchanged a glance. Their eyes revealed a cold killing intent. A black aura slowly emerged from their bodies. Kacha! At this moment, Wang Xian's door was suddenly opened. This made Elder Du and Elderly slightly stunned. He Feng sent you guys here? You want to kill me? The door was opened. Wang Xian looked at the 2 elders who were standing outside and swept his gaze across the position behind them. The 7 insightful emptiness realm experts were clearly seen by him. He also knew that they were the patrolling members of the He clan who had just arrived. Kid, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for your own death. Hee. Remember, don't provoke young Master He in your next life. The 2 old men were slightly stunned, but they recovered quickly. Elder Du stared at Wang Xian and said coldly, Go to hell! He growled in a low voice, and a gust of black gas attacked Wang Xian directly. I originally didn't want to attack you guys, but if I don't, you guys are courting death again. Wang Xian stared at them expressionlessly without even looking at the black gas. With a flick of his finger, he flicked it. Buzz! 2 streams of energy were released. In an instant, the black gas dissipated. Huh. Elder Du and Elder Li were slightly stunned. This kid still dared to resist. However, their expressions were frozen there forever. Buzz. His body seemed to be frozen by time. Following that, his entire body seemed to have been retrieved by this world and dissipated immediately. He vanished completely without leaving a single trace. What? At the spot outside, when the 7 insightful emptiness realm experts saw Elder Du and Elder Li disappear, their entire bodies were instantly covered. They stared at Wang Xian's location in disbelief. What greeted them was a pair of cold eyes. Hiss! In an instant, the 7 insightful emptiness realm experts sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their eyes revealed a look of fear. They also knew Elder Du and Elder Li's strength, the 3rd level of the insightful emptiness realm. Among them, the strongest was only at the 3rd level of the insightful emptiness realm. However, under their shocked gazes, the 2 3rd-level insightful emptiness realm experts flicked their fingers, and that young man directly turned into ashes. There wasn't the slightest trace. How was this possible? What was his strength? Everyone felt a chill on their backs. At this moment, they saw the young man in front of them waving his arm gently. The formation of the 3rd level of the void interpretation stage collapsed and dissipated. A pair of eyes looked at them. Why isn't this guy dead yet? Where are Elder Li and Elder Du? However, the 2 young men below looked at the formation that had suddenly disappeared and Wang Xian, who was standing at the door with a stunned expression. I don't want to have any conflict with your race. However, they must die. Wang Xian looked at the 7 patrolling men. With a flick of his finger, 2 streams of energy shot towards the 2 young men. What's the situation? The 2 young men were suddenly at a loss when they heard Wang Xian's words. However, they were soon freed from any worries and turned into ashes. Chapter 1487. 1487. 1487. The He clan was shaken. Hiss! A wave of fear enveloped the hearts of the 2. When the 7 patrolling experts of the He clan saw this scene, they felt a chill down their spines. In the blink of an eye, they were reduced to ashes. Moreover, the other party was an expert at the 3rd rank of the Profound Void tier. This was a 3rd rank of the Profound Void tier. Even if it was an expert at the 5th rank of the Profound Void tier, if they wanted to kill an expert at the 3rd rank of the Profound Void tier, they would have to move their muscles and bones, right? However, a young man who looked extremely young killed them with a snap of his fingers. The 7 of them were in a daze. At the same time, they looked at this terrifying young man in horror. Could it be that his strength was at level 6 of the see-through realm? How was this possible? Wang Xian looked at the 7 patrols and frowned slightly. Run! However, when Wang Xian was hesitating and was about to speak, the 7 patrols looked at each other. Without any hesitation, they ran straight towards the holy tree. At the same time, they activated the highest alert for their patrols. About 2,000 meters in front of the holy tree, there was a rather solemn black wooden building complex. The words Law Enforcement Pavilion were filled with coldness and killing intent. A huge flag of the He clan was placed beside the Law Enforcement Pavilion. At this moment, the huge flag suddenly fluttered without any wind and let out a bitter and violent sound. Boom! 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 There's a problem. There's an enemy. Who dares to cause trouble in our clan? The flag is trembling. It's at least an expert at the Profound Void Tier 6. They're courting death. Around the Law Enforcement Pavilion, one figure after another flew to the front of the Law Enforcement Pavilion at a terrifying speed. Everyone's faces revealed a cold expression as one figure after another gathered together. The leaders were three powerhouses at level 6 of the see-through realm. These three powerhouses were the three pavilion masters of the law enforcement pavilion. Northwest direction, let's go! The three pavilion masters looked at the trembling flag with murderous intent in their eyes. They moved their bodies and flew directly toward the northwest direction. A group of more than 20 see-through realm powerhouses flew over directly. Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he saw the 7 patrols suddenly escape. He frowned and considered whether he should chase after them. However, if he were to chase after them, it might cause a bigger misunderstanding. I wonder what the status of the people I killed is. Wang Xian shook his head. If their status was higher, it might not be easy to deal with them, even if he had a good relationship with He Yuan. However, Wang Xian didn't care too much. If the He clan was defeated, he would attack them one by one and force them to help him find Ling Jian. He looked at the 7 figures who had disappeared and looked at the room at the side. In the room, a faint snoring sound could be heard. Wang Xian shook his head speechlessly. Dui Mu Dezhuang was really generous and fat. After closing the door, Wang Xian poured himself a cup of tea and waited quietly. Boom! What's going on? What happened? I asked you to issue a warning. At this moment, in the sky above the He clan's forest, 7 patrolling officers who were fleeing in fear looked behind them from time to time. They were afraid that Wang Xian would chase after them. When the more than 20 law enforcement officers who were rushing oversaw the 7 patrolling officers who were filled with fear, they frowned. 3 pavilion masters. When the 7 patrolling officers heard their voices, they heaved a sigh of relief and wiped off the cold sweat on their foreheads. What happened? The 3 hall masters frowned and asked them. Hall master. 4 of young master He Feng's subordinates were killed. They were instantly killed and turned into ashes. One of the patrolling officers said with a grave expression, What? Tell us the details. Everyone was slightly taken aback and immediately said, Just now, we sensed the fluctuations of the array formation and immediately flew over. We discovered that it was 4 of young master He Feng's subordinates, 2 third-level void interpretation experts, and 2 young men. They followed young master He Feng's orders and came to kill a young man. We didn't stop them at that time, but what happened next shocked us greatly. The young man that young master He Feng wanted to kill easily killed 2 third-level profound void martial experts with a flick of his finger and turned them into ashes, as if they didn't exist at all. A patrol officer gulped and said with some fear, What, a young man? Do you know his identity? A few people had serious expressions on their faces. A young man could turn 2 level, 3 profound void martial experts into ashes with a snap of his fingers. Even the top geniuses in the vast area couldn't do it. I don't know. Everyone shook their heads. It might not be a young man. He might have taken some special pills to maintain his youthful appearance. No matter what, if he dares to kill people here, we can't let him go. One of the pavilion masters said with a cold gaze, That's right. Let's capture him first and interrogate him. The other pavilion master nodded his head coldly as well. As one of the top 5 forces in the vast region, especially in their territory, they were not afraid of anyone. Let's go. Capture him. If he resists with all his might, kill him immediately. Led by the 3 pavilion masters, a group of more than 30 people flew towards the place where Wang Xian was staying. It's at the house in front. When they were close to 2 kilometers away, a patrol officer pointed at the 300-meter-tall house and said, Use the 7th-level void interpretation formation to envelop him. The 3 pavilion masters moved their palms slightly and a formation compass appeared in their hands. Wang. The formation directly covered an area of 2,000 meters. One pavilion master waved his arm, and a wave of energy entered the other rooms, causing everyone to fall unconscious. Those inside, come out and follow us." After everything was set up, a group of over 30 void interpretation experts stood 1,000 meters away from the other side of the room, and a cold voice was transmitted into the room. 3 of them are at level 6 of the void interpretation stage. 6 of them are at level 5 of the void interpretation stage, and more than 20 of them are below level 5 of the void interpretation stage. The He clan is really strong. Wang Xian looked over and mumbled to himself. He stood up slowly and walked out of the house. Everyone was slightly shocked when they saw Wang Xian's figure. Young, too young. How dare you kill 4 people in our He clan? Follow me and await your punishment. A pavilion master sized up Wang Xian and said coldly, "Are all of you from the He clan so overbearing? It was your people who came here to kill me first. All I did was to execute their idea on them." Wang Xian frowned slightly when he heard the domineering words of the level 6 SETHROUGH expert. He spoke in a cold tone. "No matter what, since you dare to kill people here, you have to come with us. Otherwise," the leader of the pavilion was still staring at Wang Xian with an imposing manner. With a move of his arm, a 2-meter-long giant sword appeared in front of him. "Otherwise what?" Wang Xian restrained his expression and swept his gaze across them. "Otherwise, I will kill you directly." As he spoke, the giant sword in his hand was extended by terrifying sharp thorns. In the surroundings, a group of experts took out their weapons with their faces. A terrifying aura was emitted and charged toward Wang Xian. Chapter 1488. 1488. The 1488 He clan was in a state of shock. "Make your move. If he dares to resist, kill him on the spot." Wang Xian frowned when he saw the group of He clan's powerhouses taking out their weapons forcefully. When he heard the order of a level 6 insightful void martial artist, he sighed helplessly. "All of you really deserve to be taught a lesson." As Wang Xian spoke, the 5 elements millstone slowly appeared in front of his chest. He waved his arm and the 5 elements millstone expanded. It charged straight at the more than 30 insightful void martial artists in front of him. Attack! When the more than 30 insightful emptiness realm experts saw Wang Xian taking the initiative to attack, their faces revealed a cold expression as they let out a low growl. Buzz! The 5 elements millstone rotated. Even though Wang Xian was in his human form now, with his current strength, it was easy for him to kill a level 6 insightful emptiness realm expert in his human form. Boom! The more than 30 insightful emptiness realm experts waved their staffs, swords, and bows in their hands as they charged towards the 1,000-meter-sized 5 elements millstone. What? However, when the terrifying forces collided, more than 30 insightful void martial artists revealed shocked expressions. Even the expressions of the 3 insightful void martial artists changed drastically. Their attacks were directly crushed and dissipated by the revolving millstone when they landed on the 5 elements millstone. Roar! 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 Right at this moment, roars sounded from the 5 elements millstone. The 5 divine dragons' bodies shook, and gray dragon phantoms directly attacked the 30 or so profound void martial experts. Be careful, the opponent's strength is very strong. A rank 6 profound void martial expert's expression changed, and he warned loudly. Dharma idol, heaven and earth become a forest. Dharma idol, tear. Dharma idol, roots explode with power. With a loud roar, he unleashed his Dharma idol. Around him, many insightful emptiness realm experts also hurriedly unleashed their Dharma idols, attacking the gray divine dragons. Boom! 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 For a moment, a terrifying explosion sounded. Wang! The 5 elements millstone was still like a world-destroying millstone, pressing forward. Escape from the formation below the 4th rank of the profound void tier. They are not someone you can fight against. Ask the clan leader and the others for help. The three pavilion masters saw that their Dharma idol attack was only able to resist one of the opponent's attacks, and that young man had yet to make a move, which made the three pavilion masters feel a wave of fear in their hearts. The opponent might not be an expert at the 6th rank of the profound void tier, but an even stronger existence. At the thought of this, they felt their scalps go numb. A person at level 7 of the see-through realm was considered a top-notch existence in the He clan. Other than a few patriarchs of their clan, there were only 8 of them at level 7 of the see-through realm. There were only 4 of them at the Holy Tree, while the rest were at the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. Yes, Pavilion Master. The 20 or so see-through realm experts hurriedly fled outside with terrified expressions. It's not that easy to escape. When Wang Xian saw them leaving, a hint of coldness appeared on his face. Since they were attacking him, he would definitely not let them leave unscathed. He raised his arm slowly, and his entire arm turned into a terrifying dragon claw. The 10-meter-long dragon claw landed on Wang Xian's body, adding a hint of terrifying aura to it. Buzz! He moved his dragon claw, and a grayish energy attacked the 20 people directly. This is bad. Quick, run! The changes in Wang Xian's body caused the 3 pavilion masters and the rest to show a look of fear on their faces. They hurriedly shouted loudly. This is bad. However, the group of strongest experts at level 3 of the Void Interpretation Realm were unable to escape from Wang Xian's dragon claw. Bang, bang, bang. A huge force landed on their bodies, causing them to feel a sweet taste in their mouths. They spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Their bodies were sent flying backward. Phew! The group of 20 insightful void martial artists felt the injuries in their bodies and heaved a sigh of relief. It was only a slight internal injury. They did not turn around and flew out of the formation hurriedly. Clan leader, clan elder, there is an invasion of experts. Our law enforcement pavilion cannot stop it. We request the clan leader and clan elders to provide assistance. When the 20 insightful emptiness realm experts charged out of the formation, a howl that covered a radius of several dozen kilometers suddenly sounded in the quiet night sky. The sound was loud and very abrupt, causing everyone within a radius of several dozen kilometers to be completely stunned. Pow! What's the situation? An expert has invaded? Heavens, how is this possible? Which force dares to invade the He clan? It can't be. An expert that the law enforcement pavilion can't stop is at least an expert at the 7th level of the profound void tier. Who is it that dares to cause trouble in the He clan? A whistling sound startled everyone within a radius of dozens of kilometers. Many people were asleep. They sat up with shocked expressions on their faces. There's an expert. Under the holy tree, it was thousands of meters tall and thousands of meters in diameter. There were many quiet houses under the holy tree and on its branches. The surroundings of the holy tree were filled with dense, elemental energy. When the cry for help sounded, 3 old men and a middle-aged man opened their eyes in the houses on the 1,000-meter tall branches. Their eyes froze. Let's go and see who it is that dares to cause trouble here. The middle-aged man's voice sounded. His figure moved, and a light figure appeared in the air. The other 3 old men also moved, following closely behind. Around the holy tree, figures flickered, and all the insightful emptiness realm experts in the He clan's holy tree moved. Those below insightful emptiness realm level 4 don't need to come over. Those above insightful emptiness realm level 4 leave some to guard the surroundings. The rest follow. The He clan leader looked at the clansmen below and said in a low voice, Yes, clan leader. Who dares to cause trouble in our He clan? They don't know death. Come, let's go and take a look. The people from the law enforcement pavilion couldn't resist it. The opponent's strength is definitely at the 7th level of the profound void tier. I want to see which force dares to provoke us. Below, the lowest level 4th level profound void tier expert followed the figures of the clan leader and the clan elder and flew forward. The entire He clan was shaken. Someone dared to cause trouble in the He clan, and it was even a top-notch expert. Such a thing had not happened for over 1,000 years. The He clan leader and the 3 clan elders' gazes were like torches as they stared coldly ahead. Their speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye they had appeared at the location where the sound had come from. Boom, boom, boom. However, when they had just arrived, they saw that the profound void rank 7 formation in front of them was slowly cracking open. More than 10 figures directly flew out from the formation. They spat out fresh blood, and their faces were somewhat pale as they heavily landed on the ground. The He clan leader and the 3 clan leaders coldly swept their gazes over. Seeing that no one had died, they let out a slight sigh of relief. Closely following that, their gazes stared at the center of the formation's crack, the young man floating in the air. Clan leader, his strength is terrifying. He should be an expert at the 7th level of the see-through realm. The 3 pavilion masters saw the clan leader and the rest flying over. They clutched their chests and exclaimed in fear. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, 30 to 40 figures flew over at a terrifying speed and surrounded Wang Xian. Chapter 1489. 1489. 1489. The He clan was shaken. Hiss, what happened? The Lin clan leader and the 3 clan elders of the 7th level of the profound void tier have all arrived. My God, what kind of existence invaded the Lin clan? The Lin clan actually sent out so many experts. The other party is definitely an expert of the profound void tier, definitely of the 7th level of the profound void tier. Otherwise, it would be impossible for so many experts to have arrived. At a few kilometers away, when everyone saw the He clan flying towards them with such a huge formation, they were all shocked. They looked over in a daze. They could only vaguely see a figure floating in the sky within the encirclement of the He clan's experts. 30 to 40 experts at the 4th level of the see-through level surrounded Wang Xian. They kept a distance of 1,000 meters and stared at Wang Xian vigilantly. A group of powerhouses from the law enforcement pavilion covered their wounds and came to the back of the He clan leader and the 3 clan elders. They stared at the young man in front of them with some fear. Just now, the young man merely flashed his body, and all of them were sent flying backward. Even the extremely sturdy 7th level void interpretation stage formation did not last more than 5 seconds under the attack of the young man. This was a 7th level void interpretation formation that could trap a 6th level void interpretation formation. Who are you? Which faction are you from? Tell us your name. We, the Lin clan, will not kill nameless people. The He clan leader and the 3 clan elders were floating in the sky. They sized up Wang Xian with surprise in their eyes and asked coldly, "Will not kill nameless people." Wang Xian was floating in the sky. He looked at all of them arrogantly and revealed a faint sneer on his face. He wasn't afraid at all. There wasn't the slightest hint of panic on his face either. Not to mention the 4 experts at level 7 of the see-through realm. Wang Xian wasn't even afraid of an expert at level 8 of the see-through realm. Even if he couldn't defeat them, with his current strength, he could still escape from the hands of an expert at level 8 of the see-through realm. You people don't have the qualifications to do so. Wang Xian raised his head slightly and stared at the He clan's leader with an indifferent expression. Haha, what an arrogant fellow. No wonder you dare to be arrogant in our He clan. If we let you go today, our He clan's face would be unnecessary. A clan leader stared at Wang Xian with a smile. He raised his arm slightly, and a green wooden stick that was emitting a brilliant glow appeared in his hand. He stared at Wang Xian with a face full of fighting spirit and smiled sinisterly. The people of your He clan came to assassinate me. I killed them. I have already given you face by not killing the experts of your law enforcement pavilion. Since you don't want your face, there is no need for me to give it to you." Wang Xian stood in the air as he stared at all of them coldly. "Haha, it has been thousands of years. No one has provoked our He clan for thousands of years. You are the first." The He clan leader frowned slightly when he heard his words. However, his expression turned cold immediately after. A huge staff that was 2 meters in size appeared in his hand. The staff contained endless vitality. The moment the staff appeared, the surrounding trees let out a rustling sound as if they were about to pay their respects. Buzz! Wang Xian waved his arm and the 5 elements millstone appeared under his feet. It gradually grew bigger. A surge of energy of the 5 elements gushed into the surroundings. Wang Xian revealed an unruly expression on his face as a surge of energy of the 5 elements dispersed into the surroundings. Wang Xian was not the least bit afraid of the He clan's leader and the rest. Even though they were from the He Yuan clan, the He clan's actions tonight had already infuriated him. The dignity of the strong was not something that could be trampled on so easily. Wang Xian would not be able to bear and explain the He clan's mistakes. He stood on the 5 elements millstone as it spun. His cold gaze swept across everyone around him. "Next, if someone is going to die, you all deserve it," Wang Xian said slowly. "How arrogant. Everyone line up. Don't even think about leaving the He clan today." Just as Wang Xian finished his words, the eyes of the He clan's leader and elders shot out a terrifying killing intent. With a wave of their arms, the experts who were at least at level 4 of the see-through realm quickly dispersed into the surroundings. However, an elder who was standing behind Wang Xian looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. The more he looked at him, the more familiar he felt. Especially when Wang Xian was spinning on the 5 elements millstone just now, a figure flashed across his mind. However, as it had been too long, he didn't know who it was. He hesitated for a moment before moving to the front of Wang Xian. "It's been a long time since I've made a move. I hope you won't disappoint me." The burly clan leader, who was holding a wooden club, had a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. A terrifying atmosphere spread out in the surroundings. Even within a radius of 10 kilometers, one could feel this pressure. "If it's just you alone, I can easily crush you to death." Wang Xian stared at the clan elder with a proud expression. Since they wanted to fight, he would play with them for a while before leaving. "Kill." When the He clan leader heard Wang Xian's arrogant words, a terrifying pressure spread out in the surroundings. "Young Master Wang." Just as the He clan leader and the 3 clan leaders were about to attack, just as Wang Xian was about to transform into a dragon, an exclamation and an incredulous voice came from the side. "Huh!" The sudden voice stunned Wang Xian, the He clan leader, and the 3 clan leaders. Wang Xian looked over and looked at the elder who spoke. The He clan leader and the rest also looked over with a frown. "Clan leader Yan." Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. Furthermore, it was an acquaintance from the Luhai region. Clan leader Yan was the one who had been following He Yuan when he came to the Luhai region. At the banquet at the Heavenly Sword Sect, Wang Xian had met clan leader Yan. At that time, he was only at level 3 of the see-through realm. Now, he had already reached level 4 of the see-through realm. "Young Master Wang, it's really you." The Yan clan leader stared at Wang Xian in disbelief and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was a little absent-minded. He had a very deep impression of Wang Xian back then. According to what young master he said, he was a young beast tamer who was even stronger than him. Even young master, he was convinced by him. Moreover, Wang Xian's relationship with young master, he was very good when they were in the Flowing Sea region. However, this arrogant young man who looked down on the He clan leader and the clan leader was actually young Master Wang. 7th level of the see-through realm. Gulp. Yen Chongqing, who is he? The He clan leader saw that his subordinate recognized this young man. Furthermore, he seemed to be very familiar with him. He frowned slightly and asked, reporting to the clan leader, he is young master, He Yuan's good brother. Young master, He Yuan had a good relationship with young master Wang when he was in the Luhai region. Yen Chongqing quickly reported to the clan leader, Yuan heir's good brother. Everyone around was stunned. Chapter 1490. 1,491,490. This child was Yaoshang. In the He clan's forest, the He clan's leader, the 3 clan leaders, and all the experts of the He clan around them were stunned and shocked when they heard Yen Chongqing's words. The He clan's leader was even more shocked. Yuan heir's good brother. The He clan's leader had always been very proud of his son, especially He Yuan. He was born with a special constitution and had terrifying talent as a beast tamer. He Yuan's talent was not inferior to the most talented disciples of the 3 super forces. In fact, he even thought highly of his son in terms of potential in the future. Even so, the He clan leader did not think that his son could become good brothers with a 7th rank profound void martial artist. A strong person had the dignity of a strong person. 2 years ago, his son was only at level 1 of the see-through realm. However, the other party had such terrifying strength. How could he have a level 1 of the see-through realm as his brother? Even if it was because of the He clan's background, the possibility was not very high. Level 7 of the see-through realm. With such strength, even in the He clan, he was considered a top-notch powerhouse. The 3 clan elders looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Their expressions kept changing. Are you good friends with He Yuan? The He clan leader stared at Wang Xian and asked with a frown. We communicated for a period of time when we were in the Flowing Sea region. Wang Xian looked at the He clan leader and nodded his head faintly. Are you here this time? The He clan leader couldn't react in time. His son's friend almost got into a fight with them. Moreover, this friend of his son had the ability to fight against them. I came over from the Flowing Sea region. I have something to ask He Yuan for help. I heard that his birthday is in a few days, so I waited here for a few days. Wang Xian stood there and spoke in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. If he could avoid a conflict with the He clan, Wang Xian would naturally avoid a conflict as well. Of course, the prerequisite was that the other party didn't have to be so overbearing and domineering. Can you explain what happened tonight? The He clan leader's tone was a little better as he spoke to Wang Xian. It's you who should give me an explanation. However, Wang Xian didn't give them a way out. He swept his gaze across the patrol team behind them. Clan leader. At this moment, a few patrol team members immediately walked forward and reported the cause of the incident to the He clan leader. Fong. When the He clan leader heard their conversation, he frowned slightly. He immediately had a rough understanding of the cause and effect. During the day, it was obvious that Wang Xian didn't give Fong any face. At night, he ordered people to come and kill him. However, what Fong didn't expect was that the other party was a terrifying level 7 void interpretation stage powerhouse. As a top-tier expert, if someone tried to assassinate him, the result would naturally be obvious. The dignity of an expert could not be offended. This caused everyone around to frown slightly. They had never thought that the cause of the matter was because He Fong had sent people to assassinate him. Looks like this matter is just a misunderstanding. The He clan leader's face was slightly ugly. One of his son's expert friends had come to celebrate his son's birthday. In the end, his other son had sent people to assassinate him. Moreover, they had a conflict with him. It was a little embarrassing. Wang Xian smiled faintly and didn't say anything. This matter is our He clan's fault. This brother came to look for He Yuan. This kid is currently in the holy tree and can't come out for the time being. We don't care about this matter. Let's apologize to our brother. Why don't this brother come to stay in the He clan? When He Yuan comes out, you guys can catch up on old times." The clan leader, who was holding the club, suggested awkwardly, "Don't bother. I'll wait here for a few days. We'll meet again on his birthday." Wang Xian shook his head and refused. "All right." When the He clan leader heard Wang Xian's words, he pondered for a moment and said, "Yuan has never had any friends. I'm sure Yuan will be very happy when he finds out about your arrival." Wang Xian nodded his head faintly. "Brother Wang, if you have any needs in the He clan's forest, you can come and look for us. If you have friends coming from afar, we will definitely do what we can." The He clan leader continued speaking and cupped his hands toward Wang Xian. "All right, thank you, He clan." When Wang Xian saw how courteous they were, he cupped his hands as well, 1 foot in front of the other, and 1 foot in front of the other. This had always been Wang Xian's principle in doing things. Then, "We shall not disturb Brother Wang. When Yuan comes out, our He clan will treat you to a feast." The He clan leader revealed a smile on his face. He gestured to the surrounding clansmen and flew towards the holy tree. "It's just a misunderstanding that has disturbed everyone. I'm sorry." At this moment, at least hundreds of thousands of people within a radius of tens of kilometers were observing the situation. The voice of a tribe elder resounded in everyone's mind. What's going on? Why did they disperse without a fight? Misunderstanding? Who is that figure? What kind of misunderstanding happened? Puzzled voices rang out in the surroundings. Wang Xian took a glance and entered the room directly. The unconscious lone, treated Wang, did not know about the shocking scene that had happened. "Yan Changqing, you know about that young Master Wang. Tell me everything." At this moment, before they reached the position of the holy tree, the He clan leader could not help but ask Yan Changqing. He had to pay attention to a peerless powerhouse who had suddenly appeared and was a friend of his son. The entire He clan couldn't help but take him seriously as well. "Clan leader, I don't know much about this young Master Wang. All I know is that he is also a beast tamer. Back then, when the two of them competed in strength, even young Master He Yuan was forced to admit defeat. Later on, young Master He Yuan played with him for quite a few days. When he left, young Master He Yuan invited him to the vast region. He said that he would come here in 3 to 5 years at most. As for the rest, I don't know either." Yan Changqing said in full detail, "Go and investigate. Find out all the information about this young Master Wang. Use all the strength of the He clan." The He clan leader immediately gave an order to Yan Changqing. "It's the clan leader." Yan Changqing was slightly startled and hurriedly nodded. "Inform us once the information is found out." The 3 clan elders said to the He clan leader. "Yes." He clan leader nodded. They had to understand this matter in detail. In less than half an hour, the entire He clan strength was mobilized. With the He clan strength, if they wanted to obtain information, even if it was from the flowing sea region, they would at most be able to obtain it in 2 days. During these 2 days, everyone in the He clan's forest was filled with curiosity towards the matter of that night, and they were all discussing it. 2 days later, one by one, the information was sent to the He clan leader. When he flipped open the information, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 1491. 1491 was the son of a demon, the supreme genius of the flowing sea region. A few months ago, the entire flowing sea region was unified under his control. The person behind the flowing sea region, the friend of the Empress of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, easily killed a rank 6 profound void martial artist. This was a message from the flowing sea region. These messages were not what shocked them the most. What shocked them the most was the following information. A month ago, he appeared in the vast north-flowing sea region and destroyed the towering sky sword sect at a terrifying speed. He single-handedly killed 2 sword masters of the towering sky sword sect who were at the 7th rank of the insightful void realm in a short period of time. He destroyed the towering sky sword sect and established the heartless sword Dao sect. He is currently looking for a girl. She is only 30 years old. Information appeared one after another in front of the He clan leader and the 3 clan leaders. When they saw the information, their faces revealed a shocked expression, especially the last introduction of the information. She was only 30 years old. 30 years old, only 30 years old. Seeing this number, they felt a little dazed. Reaching the 7th level of the profound void tier at 30 years old. Moreover, he could easily kill 2 experts at the 7th level of the profound void tier. This, the He clan leader and the elders in the room sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces full of shock as they stared at the information in front of them. How is this possible? A 30-year-old expert at the 7th level of the profound void tier. This old man has lived for over 3,000 years, but he hasn't stepped into the 7th level of the profound void tier for long. How did he cultivate at the age of 30? Even if he is from the dragon race, it is impossible for him to have such speed. The burly clan leader widened his eyes and stood up in disbelief. The others were also in a daze. The records on the data can't be wrong. Moreover, the array formations used to detect age are extremely accurate, so there shouldn't be any mistakes. In addition, he has such a young face. The He clan leader's eyes flashed with a surprised glint as he stared at the information in front of him. I've never seen such a monstrous person. Even the legendary god from tens of thousands of years ago isn't this terrifying. I'm afraid that only in the history of the Dragon Clan would such a monstrous person appear. The few clan elders took a deep breath. Yuan did indeed get to know him in the flowing sea region, and their relationship is quite good. This time he came to find Yuan, he should be asking Yuan to help him find that woman. The entire house was silent for a full 5 minutes. The He clan's leader sighed and said in a low voice, "This child is a demon. His future potential is unfathomable. If Yuan, that kid, can get to know him well, he might be able to benefit him and even our He clan in the future. According to the records, that young man's strength has increased at a terrifying speed. I cannot believe it." The burly clan leader stared at the information in front of him as he spoke, and a trace of bitterness appeared on his face. Thinking back to that night when he was filled with fighting spirit and wanted to have a good battle with him. In the end, the other party was able to easily kill 2 insightful void martial experts. He also had some understanding of the 2 sword masters of the towering sky sword sect. Sword techniques that were good at killing and powerful combined attacks were considered top-notch among those of the same level. However, they were quickly killed by that young man alone. No wonder that night, even though the young man was surrounded, he didn't have much fear when facing the 4 of them. It was because the other party had such confidence in his own strength. Fortunately, we didn't fall out with him. Moreover, the ones who died were only the 2 outsiders who had submitted to Hifeng. That Wang Xian didn't make any ruthless moves either. An elder said slowly, "This matter isn't a bad thing for us. Let He Yuan get along well with him. However, He Yuan clearly doesn't know the strength of that young man. Should we inform him and let him?" "There's no need to tell him. After all, that Wang Xian is an expert at level 7 of the see-through realm. If we were to tell Yuan he might feel restrained. Once the relationship between friends becomes complicated, it wouldn't be pure anymore. This time, he came to seek Yuan help. He owes a favor in the first place." "That's true. Let's keep this matter a secret for the time being. As for Hifeng, when he comes out, you have to teach him well." "I know, third grandpa." The He clan leader was chatting with a few clan elders. "He's 30 years old. If he doesn't die halfway, He will definitely reach level 8 of the see-through realm or even reach a higher level. The 3 clan leaders stood up and looked at each other as they exclaimed in astonishment. Such a devilish young man was worthy of their entire He clan's goodwill, and even their goodwill. If he could reach a higher level in the future, he would be able to protect the He clan for thousands of years. I heard that a strong person came to the He clan's forest these few days and had a small conflict with the He clan. However, they didn't get into a fight. It seems to be at a place not far from where we live. TSK, TSK. It's a pity that I slept earlier and didn't hear it. Inside Dui Mu Dazhuang's shop, he walked in and told Wang Xian when he heard the discussions outside. I don't know either. Wang Xian shook his head with a smile. So, brother Wang Xian, you die this way even when you sleep. Haha, today's harvest is pretty good. Tomorrow is young master, He Yuan's birthday. I want to buy a cool outfit. Even if I can't become a member of young master his army, with my looks, I might be able to make a lady fall in love with me. By then, I will be able to achieve great success. Dumu Dazhuang was fantasizing about a beautiful future. He pulled Wang Xian with an excited expression and closed the door before walking out. Wang Xian smiled at the side. Dumu Dazhuang had many flaws. However, no matter how many flaws he had, it could not hide his narcissistic and optimistic attitude. At this moment, the flow of people was obviously much more than a few days ago. In the surroundings, there were many young men dressed in luxurious clothes. Each of them was tall and lofty, exuding confidence and arrogance. He Yuan's birthday party and the establishment of He Yuan's army attracted the young talents within a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. At least tens of thousands of young men and women rushed over, and they were all young men and women with good strength and talent. To many people, this was an opportunity. Once they succeeded, they would be able to obtain a void interpretation level mount. There were only a few people in the entire vast region who were so generous. On the morning of the second day, Dui Dazhuang dragged Wang Xian into the He clan's forest early in the morning. Quick, quick, let's go there earlier. Let's breathe in the air around the holy tree and see if there are any beauties around. Haha. Dui Dazhuang looked at Wang Xian with excitement and excitement. Clap, clap. A crisp sound came from Wang Xian's shoulder. On his shoulder, there was a palm-sized little fellow that looked like a tree ant standing on it. Its eyes were glowing as it stared at the holy tree and clapped its hands. TSK, TSK. Look at how little guy agrees with me. Let's hurry up. Dui Dazhuang looked at the little guy and urged him. Wang Xian nodded and followed behind. The little guy on his shoulder was hatched from the egg that he prepared to give to He Yuan for his birthday last night. To his surprise, after the little guy swallowed his eggshell, his bloodline evolved again. Chapter 1492. 1492 Birthday Party 1492. A ferocious beast with a level 3 see-through bloodline. After being nourished by Wang Xian's immense dragon energy, the level of the bloodline was raised to level 6 of see-through. After it hatched and was born, the inside of its eggshell was also completely nourished by the dragon energy. Surprisingly, it also allowed its bloodline to achieve a breakthrough. A level 7 see-through ferocious beast with a bloodline made him very surprised. The value of a young ferocious beast at level 7 of the see-through realm was extremely terrifying. Even if he were to exchange it with an ordinary dynasty, he might not be able to get it. However, Wang Xian did not care too much about this young, ferocious beast. There were more than 16,000 members of the Dragon Palace. All of them were existences with endless potential, let alone a young beast at level 7 of the see-through realm. Even a young beast above level 7 of the see-through realm was nothing to him. Furthermore, the pups needed to be nurtured. To nurture a pup of a level 7 of the see-through realm bloodline demon beast to level 7 of the see-through realm required a terrifying amount of resources. To nurture a pup to level 7 of the see-through realm from a third-rate force in the vast region, they would need to spend at least half of their resources. Therefore, Wang Xian didn't take it to heart. He didn't feel any heartache, even if he gave it to He Yuan directly. Furthermore, he wouldn't forcefully upgrade the bloodline of a demonic beast or ferocious beast in the future. It would be too much of a waste of dragon energy. Papa, papa, Gigi, Gigi. The two of them walked towards the place where He Yuan was celebrating his birthday. He Yuan's birthday and the establishment of He Yuan's army made this banquet extremely grand. The venue was located within the He clan, not far from the holy tree. The closer they were to the holy tree, the more abundant the wood attribute spiritual energy was. According to Wang Xian's estimation, the density of the wood attribute was at least 10 times that of the outside world when they stood on the holy tree. This was definitely a terrifying paradise. It was also because of this holy tree that the He tribe was able to stand in the vast region for tens of thousands of years. Little Goody was a wood attribute, ferocious beast. The holy tree was very attractive to it, so it became even more excited. Waving its small hands, it had a somewhat green body and green eyes. It looked very cute. The name Little Goody was naturally given to it by one tree Dezhuang. TSK, TSK, the surroundings are really beautiful. Walking straight inside, the surrounding flowers and plants were abnormally beautiful. In the sky, there were many houses built in the middle of the two trees. The vines were twining, and they were colorful. Ah, that demonic beast cub is so cute! At this moment, a surprised voice came from the side. The two girls from the forest fairy race looked at Little Rascal, who was on Wang Xian's shoulder, and exclaimed in surprise, Papa, Gigi! Little Rascal looked at them. They were both wood-type creatures and were rather close to each other. He called out to them twice. Wow, so cute! The two forest fairies' eyes lit up as they said this. Lone Tree Dezhuang looked at the two beautiful forest fairies who were looking in their direction. He slightly puffed out his big belly. However, when he saw that they weren't looking at him at all, he was slightly dejected. He rolled his eyes. Hee, two beautiful ladies, it's called Little Goody. Dui Dezhuang went over and said with a smile, Is that so? What kind of beast does this fellow belong to? Let's go get one too. The two forest fairy girls glanced at Dui Dezhuang and immediately asked, This is an ancient brown beast, a wood-type beast. Dui Dezhuang replied with a smile, Ancient brown beast? Ancient brown beasts don't look cute at all. How can such a cute little fellow be an ancient brown beast? The two forest spirits looked at Little Goody in puzzlement. Mutated, this one is mutated, Dui Dezhuang said with a laugh. Demonic flower, hurry up. Oh. At this moment, the voices of the other forest spirits came from the front, and the two forest spirits immediately left. Dui Dezhuang looked at the two leaving figures with some disappointment. After entering the inner area, don't cause any trouble. Otherwise, you will be punished according to the rules of the clan. At this moment, the two of them arrived at an entrance. A middle-aged man's voice rang out. Yes. Dui Dezhuang immediately replied. He sized up the surroundings. There were some young and beautiful women from the forest fairy race. All of them were outstanding young men and women. Today, everyone was dressed exceptionally beautifully. Dui Dezhuang was extremely moved by them. Sigh, Brother Wang Xian. Speaking of which, I'm almost 40 years old. I haven't achieved anything. I haven't even found a wife at 40 years old. Sigh. All of a sudden, Dui Dezhuang sighed and said to Wang Xian, Speak your mind. Wang Xian shot him a glance and said directly, Hee, Brother Wang Xian, you know me well. Can you let me play with Little Rascal later? No, my thick arms let Little Rascal stand. Dui Dezhuang said to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian saw through his thoughts at a glance and nodded his head. Haha, Brother Wang Xian, you're the best. I know that my chance of joining young Master He's army is slim. I'll depend on it today. Dui Zhuang walked to Little Rascal's side and extended his hand towards it with a wretched expression. Wang Xian commanded Little Rascal to follow him. Squeak, squeak. Little Rascal jumped into Dui Dazhuang's hand unwillingly. Hee. Dui Dazhuang smiled in a wretched manner and gently patted Little Rascal's head. Wang Xian followed the crowd and arrived at an empty space. This place was about 5 kilometers away from the holy tree. There was a river surrounding it. Today is young Master He Yuan's birthday banquet in the sky. Everyone, go to the location above. A voice prompted. Wang Xian moved his body and flew directly into the sky. At the top of the tree, there was a patch of thorns in the sky with a radius of about 2 kilometers. The thorns were intertwined together, and it was very stable. One could stand on it. It was a very beautiful scene in the sky of 700 to 800 meters. There were some tables and chairs as well as some food on it. There were more than 10,000 people here, so it didn't seem crowded. However, what made all the youths excited was that there were 100 fierce beasts lying around. There were all kinds of fierce beasts. The lowest was at the first level of the profound void tier, and the highest was at the 3rd level of the profound void tier. At this moment, there were already several thousand youths who had come here, and they were chatting in groups. There were also many youths who came to the front of the fierce beasts with burning eyes, and they were sizing them up with burning faces. Today, as long as they could succeed, these ferocious beasts could become their mounts. This place is really luxurious and magnificent. TSK, I'm really envious. Dui Dazhuang looked around with a shocked expression. Let's find a place to sit down first. Wang Xian said to him and walked to a seat at the side. He waited there. He poured a cup of tea on the table and sipped it lightly. TSK, Brother Wang Xian. How did a young man like you manage to live the life of an old man? I'll go somewhere else. Dumu Dazhuang said as he looked around with a wretched gaze. He swayed his fat body as he walked towards the ferocious beasts. Wang Xian looked at him and shook his head. Chapter 1493. 1490, 3 dragon of 1,493 people. As time passed, more and more people gathered around the birthday banquet venue. All of them were young men from the young elites within a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Each of the young men was dressed in luxurious clothes. Even though some of them looked a little shabby, there was still a hint of determination on their faces. These young men were either the favored sons of the heavens in a city or the descendants of the various big families in the city. There were very few people below transcendent level 6. Other than humans, there were also some demonic beasts, young men and women from the forest fairy race, and some other young men in the form of human-shaped demonic beasts. The entire banquet hall was extremely lively. All the young men were chatting enthusiastically. The man was handsome while the woman was beautiful. Wang Xian leaned against the chair and looked at the tens of thousands of young men in the banquet hall with a smile on his face. From this group of young men, it could be seen that the entire He clan was thriving. He, Dui Dazhuang, stuck out his stomach with a smile on his face. He narrowed his eyes and sized up the surroundings. Little Goody was also sizing up the surroundings with a curious look on his shoulder. This combination was filled with a sense of humor. Let's go there. Dui Dazhuang looked around. In the banquet area, the place with the most people was the area around the ferocious beasts. Dui Dazhuang looked at the surroundings of a peacock of light. There were hundreds of people gathered around it, and most of them were beautiful women. His eyes lit up, and he immediately shook his fat body and walked over with narrowed eyes. A second-level void interpretation stage peacock of light with a fourth-level void interpretation bloodline. If only I could get this ferocious beast to be my mount. It's simply too beautiful. My strength is not inferior to those men. I'm definitely going to get this peacock of light. In the future, I'll be the famous peacock queen, hee. Around this ferocious beast, many girls were talking excitedly. Beautiful things can be pleasing to the eye. This peacock of light is simply too beautiful. Dui Mu Dezhuang walked over and said with a face full of amazement, attracting the attention of the surrounding people. A few girls who were closer to Dui Dezhuang looked over. When they saw Dui Dezhuang's body, they felt a little disgusted. Papa, Gigi. At this moment, little Goody, who was on Dui Dezhuang's shoulder, stared at the peacock of light and cried out. It widened its eyes and stared curiously. Little Goody, let's see if it's pretty. Although it's pretty, it's not as cute as our little Goody. Duo Dezhuang intentionally stretched out his arm to let little Goody jump over and display it in front of everyone. What a cute little fellow. Aya, it's simply too cute. The surrounding girls' eyes lit up when they saw little Goody. Cute animals had some powerful lethality to girls. Duoku Dezhuang's eyes revealed a smug look when he heard the cries of surprise from the surrounding. As expected, it was just as he had expected. What kind of fierce beast is this? It looks so cute, and it actually knows how to clap its hands. Yeah, a wood-attributed fierce beast cub. It looks so smart. Little guy, what's your name? Two girls walked over with faces full of love, wanting to stretch out their hands to touch it. It's called Little Goody. Come, Little Goody. Let the two beautiful sisters touch it. Lone Tree Dezhuang said to Little Goody with a smile on his face. Squeak, squeak. Little Goody called out and intelligently raised its head to look at the two girls. With a move of its arm, it turned into wisps of twigs and touched the two girls' faces. When Lone Tree Dezhuang saw Little Goody's actions, he was slightly stunned, and his eyes revealed a look of envy. This little family had potential. Haha, Little Goody is so cute, so itchy. The two girls were amused by Little Goody. They couldn't help but reach out their hands. Ah, what a cute fierce beast pet. Yeah, it's simply too cute. And look at how smart it is. What kind of fierce beast pet is this? I want to buy one too. At this moment, Little Goody's cute image and the two exclamations attracted the attention of the surrounding girls. They immediately moved closer to Dui Dezhuang. Come, little guy, I'll give you something good to eat. A girl with a face full of love took out an emerald green bamboo and handed it to Little Goody. Squeak, squeak. Little Goody's eyes immediately lit up and he immediately took it. One of his arms turned into a branch and slowly rubbed against the girl's face. Wow, so cute. The girl's face revealed a look of love. Little Goody held onto the bamboo with his other hand and started to eat it bite by bite. Little guy, are you eating spirit stones? The surrounding girls looked at him and took out a spirit stone with envy. Squeak, squeak. Little Goody didn't reject anything. He used his hand to touch the girl's face and directly swallowed the spirit stone. Ah, isn't it too cute? I still have more. One by one, the girls took out spirit stones and some pills and handed them to Little Rascal. One by one, it stretched out its arm and turned it into a branch, gently brushing every girl that gave it food. This action undoubtedly made some of the girls' faces full of joy. Many of the girls who came here were from large clans in the city. Their families were good, and each of them wasn't stingy with spirit stones to feed Little Rascal. Soon, more than 10 girls gathered around Dui Dezhuang. Ladies, don't be anxious. If you want to see Little Rascal, don't crowd around. Aya, Beauty, you are so caring, so beautiful. Beauty, don't lean on me. Dui Dezhuang's goal had been achieved. He stood there with a gentlemanly face and sniffed around. Some of the girls were even pressed against his body, which made him feel extremely pleased. Dui Dezhuang's lower body was stiff, and his face was filled with a smile. At this moment, a dozen girls walked over from the side. When they saw that there were dozens of girls gathered here, they would occasionally exclaim, causing the girl in the middle to be slightly stunned and look over curiously. What a clever, vicious beast cub! That girl's face revealed a surprised expression. Yes, Sister Tianqing, what a cute little fellow. The few girls next to her looked over, and they also looked over with fondness. Sisters, can you let me take a look? The girl hesitated for a moment and said to the group of girls gathered in front, "Oh, Miss Tianqing. Miss Tianqing, come and take a look. The entire ferocious beast cub is very cute." The woman named Tianqing clearly had quite a reputation. The women all made way for her. What a beautiful lady! Come, little goody, wave your hand. A hint of surprise flashed across Lone Tree Dazhuang's eyes when he saw the woman walk in. He said with a smile, "Squeak, squeak." Little rascal ate one spirit stone after another happily. Then he stretched out his hand and waved it. How cute! Moreover, the level of your bloodline shouldn't be low either. A smile appeared on Tianqing's face. Then she stretched out her hand and handed a pill to Little Rascal. "Handsome, can you sell this savage beast cub? Name a price."